The wildest flips, the most thrilling finishes. Yep. This is Talladega. And today it's the Aaron's 499 on Fox. Qualifying fell victim to rain on Saturday, so Friday practice set the starting lineup. Here's the Geico starting grid. Carl Edwards, nearly a winner here in 09, and Martin Truex, fifth here in 06. Marcus Ambrose, fourth in 09, and Joey Logano, top fives in 3 of the last 5 races of the season. Matt Kenseth's the most recent Talladega winner, there with Ryan Newman. Denny Hamlin in his return from the injury at California, and 2-time Dega winner Jimmy Johnson. Jeff Gordon, his 12 restrictor plate wins, leads everyone in the field. And Casey Kane, a 3-time runner-up here. Brad Keselowski and Dale Earnhardt Jr., 2 wins here for Brad, 5 for Junior. Kyle Busch, the 2008 winner, and Michael Waltrip, a 4-time restrictor plate winner. Trevor Bayne, the Daytona winner in 2011, and Paul Menard, runner-up here in 08. Greg Biffle and Eric Almirola, both riding top 10 streaks. David Reagan and Clint Boyer, who both won on the big tracks. Ricky Stenhouse, Casey Mears. Darrell, who you got on the horn today?
I'm going to talk to Mikey. Let's see what he's going to do in the race today. Hey, Michael Waltrip, it's Big Brother DW here. You got a copy? But we'll get back to him. We're gonna talk to him in a little bit here. We're gonna talk to him throughout the race, as a matter of fact. Right now, he's probably pretty busy getting all of his last-minute instructions. We'll dial up Carl Edwards, our pole setter, and see what he's got to offer. Carl Edwards, DW here. You got a copy, my friend?
Got you, DW.
Carl, you and Jimmy Finning, I mean, you played the practice strategy and the weather to perfection. What's your strategy for the race? Is it that good?
I think it's that good. Jimmy Finning is pretty smart, and he told me what he wanted out of practice, and he told me what he wants out of this race. So I believe we have a good plan, no matter really what happens here, and hopefully we can stay ahead of the game and put this forward in victory lane. We've got a fast race course.
Carl, I know it's just the start, but thinking ahead a little bit to the last part of this race, do you want to be up front at the end of the day, leading this thing on the white flag, or do you know yet?
I don't know yet. I'm going to try to learn as much as I can, but I believe you want to be up front. Matt Kenseth won with Jimmy Finning a couple times last year, leading the last 20 or 30 laps, so that's where we want to be. And I got a pretty good view of last night's chaos, so I'm not sure how I'll combine both of those things and make for the best choice, but I'm going to do my best.
Well, my friend, you're living the dream. You're up here where I am last night, and you're out there on the pole today. Take advantage of it, my friend.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm enjoying racing right now, having a good time. I hope you guys have a good time up there.
Carl Edwards starts from the pole. This race is brought to you by Budweiser, the beer that starts with full flavor and ends with a crisp, fast finish. Great times are waiting, so grab some Buds.
Let's see if we can get Mikey one more time. Hey, Mikey, it's TW. You got a copy there, my bud?
I thought, I'll be damned. I think I'm going to win this race. But then I got to turn 3.
Hey, Mikey, it's DW. You got a copy, buddy?
Yeah, bro. Go ahead.
Mikey, I mean, you're a prolific restrictor plate racer, and you know this game as good as anybody. What are you going to do today to win this race?
Just going to have to figure it out, Darrell. The racing will be different today, I believe, than it was at Daytona. So I'm not at any disadvantage. I know about as much about what it's going to take today as these guys I'm with does. So I just have to focus, see what everybody does, see what lanes to take, and be around at the end. And for the first 100 miles, I'm going to take it pretty easy, though. I like to get up to speed, get a feel for my car, and understand the draft before I start mixing it up with these boys that do this every week.
All right, brother. You had a good run here last year. See if you can duplicate that with a little bit of an improvement to the finish line. Good luck, buddy.
Yeah, I made it to right here, Darrell. It looked like I was going to win.
He was within half a mile. Nice helmet. University of Alabama football style helmet there for Michael. Let's get down to pit road for late stories. Matt Yoakum.
Mike, Operation Talladega commenced shortly after Martinsville when the idea for Denny Hamlin's roof hatch came about. Now, Denny practiced once at the shop and then here on Friday at the racetrack, and then they fine-tuned that process this morning. Now, Sean Kurland, who's an interior specialist, and Denny went over a short checklist of what Denny has to do before he hits pit road. The note says that he's got to drop the roof net and flip it over the right side headrest. He's got to lengthen the shoulder belts and flip those over. Also lengthen the lap belts, and he's got to stop straight in the box and then turn off the master switch. And that's just what Denny has to do before the guys in the pit and Brian Vickers, who is shortly, who's over my shoulder, who shortly then will get in the race cars. It's going to be very busy in this area. Chris Devoda?
Well, Matt, Mike Joy mentioned that Dale Earnhardt Jr. has won here 5 times. He has a formula. You need to expect random and ridiculous. Prepare to be frustrated by fate, and at all times, drive with conviction and confidence. Steve Burns?
Well, Chris, I know Brad Keselowski was a little bit coy with you in the pre-race, but I talked to his crew chief, Paul Wolfe, earlier this morning. This is a team, this 2 team, that can lose 3 of its key personnel pending a NASCAR hearing on Tuesday. Paul Wolfe, the crew chief, said they are going to go to the front as fast as they can and race at the front as long as they can. But Jeff Hammond, what you got?
Well, Steve, for drivers today, their best friend is going to wind up being their spotter. It's going to be their responsibility to keep them out of trouble, keep them out of that big one, and in the end, hopefully, get them in the right position to get to the victory lane. To be able to do that, they'll tell you this is probably not the first, the second most difficult racetrack on all the circuit to spot from. The reason being, this massive Talladega infield for one thing, and almost 3/4 of a mile difference between where they are and the back straightaway here at Talladega. For spotters, they need the confidence of the driver in them, and they've also got to have that trust, Mike.
Thank you, Jeff. They come off turn 2 to the backstretch, 4,000-foot ribbon of asphalt. And then up into turn 3 and 4, through the tri-oval and onto the start-finish line. Temps are in the mid-60s. The asphalt, due to the sun all morning, 94 degrees, a light breeze, and what began as full sun is giving way to partly and soon mostly cloudy skies. It'll take 188 laps to run 500 miles today.
Pit road speed, it can be tough. From 200 miles per hour to 55 miles per hour, the Sunoco fuel window, 42 to 46 laps.
And we just saw Tony Stewart fall all the way to the back, along with Denny Hamlin. Remember, in the pre-race show, Stewart said, "I'm going to go back and help my buddy." If you're going to fall to the back, why don't you just start in the back? You can go back, you just can't go forward.
That's perfectly legal.
43 drivers at the ready. Elliott Sadler, the one car that did not make the field when qualifying was rained out and the starting order was set from Friday practice. But Sadler's car was fast enough, just did not have enough owner points to garner a spot in the field of 43.
You know, Mike, don't be surprised to see drivers, maybe even that starting outside the top 30, they could be inside the top 10 by lap 10 and vice versa. The one thing that went with Carl Edwards being on the pole is that #1 pit selection, the last box leaving.
They come off turn 4, 1,600 feet to the tri-oval. And if we were at Daytona, the start-finish line would be in the middle of that tri-oval centered on pit road. But when Bill France built this speedway to make the seats down toward turn 1 more saleable, that's where he put the start-finish line. So instead of being right there where you saw Aaron's, instead of being there, it's way down here. That's a 1/4 mile further. And that can make all the difference as the field addresses itself to the starting line.
We make a big deal out of that because it is a big deal. And folks, this is the most enthusiastic crowd you're ever going to see. The green flag is in the air. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing. Drivers!
It'll take nearly a full lap for the field to come to 195 miles an hour. And they should be at that speed coming through the trial. Well, Casey Mears up the middle, following Almirola, following the 27 of Paul Menard, and they're 3 wide already on turn 4.
3 wide all the way through the field, pretty much.
Don't forget the yellow line, the double yellow line down on the inside. You cannot dip below that.
Lap 1, Martin Truex.
If you do dip below it, or if you're forced below it, as long as you don't improve your position, no foul.
Makes you wonder, Darrell, why we don't start 3 abreast, because we're going to be that way pretty quickly.
Yeah, we will be for a while. Yeah, Noah wouldn't like this. You just don't know what driver's strategy is here, Mike. Carl Edwards, start on the pole. He's already dropped way back. And that may be by design, and it may be the car just didn't come up to speed like he'd like for it to.
Well, he's on the inside, Darrell, and that seems to be the line that did not go.
It's like they're all ganging up on the outside right now.
Yeah, we were riding with Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8-8. Said earlier this week, my plan is to race and race at the front as much as I can.
Now, if you recall a couple, 3 years ago here, he and Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, and all of them, they went to the back, his teammates. They all ended up at the end of the day with bad finishes. He said, I'm not going to let that happen again.
Well, Matt Kenseth in that 20 looked like he wanted to fill that hole between Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Michael Waltrip, and he thought better there at the last second.
Michael took a peek down low. Kenseth leads the low line as we're 2 by 2 through the top dozen now.
And this is a kind of a feeling out period, Mike. You'll like Michael. He'll run along there. He'll get a feel for what his car will do. And when the race comes down the end, he'll have a good idea. Pretty soon, I got a feeling he'll ease to the back and look for Hamlin.
Looking back at Eric Almirola, could he be today's first-time winner at a track that tends to favor such a thing?
3 consecutive top 10 finishes the last 3 races here in 2013, but this is the second race with this Gen 6 car with this aero package, and I just think everything they learned in the Daytona 500, we saw it in practice, feeling racing.
Steve, Carl Edwards, our pole sitter, did not stay up there. He dropped back to 10th and now is 14th. Anything wrong?
The only thing wrong, Mike, is where he's on the racetrack. He just told his spotter, Jason Hedleski, hey, it's obvious to me I need to be at the top of the racetrack, not the bottom.
He talked about learning. He's learning at an early stage of this race.
Oh, sure, and they're 3 wide, and he's on the bottom. I need to be at the top. Excuse me, would someone let me in, please? That ain't going to happen.
Casey Mears continues to fight his way up the middle in that number 13. He is 14th after starting 22nd.
The one thing that has been constant from Daytona, and I'm seeing it again today, is that gap. That little gap that these cars seem to have between it and the car in front of it. There's a lot of air, a lot of turbulent air that comes off of the back of these cars because of that little spoiler. A lot more air is hitting the car behind in it. I think it keeps that car in the back from pushing all the way up to the bumper.
Darrell, that last shot, that put in perspective 33 degrees of banking in these corners.
Oh, yeah. It flips you right up, and trust me, there are a lot of G-forces.
Our Feeding America in-car camera gives you the sense of the banking due to its gyroscopic mount. It stays vertical as the car is tilted 33 degrees in the banking and then slams down onto that flat back straightaway.
Yeah, it's one of the best views I think we've ever had for the fans at home. For finally they can get a feel for what it's like to get into these 33-degree banks. You just see that right there. I mean, that's half turned over right there.
Darrell, I like what I'm seeing from Casey Mears. He fought his way up to 8th spot there and found his way to the bottom lane there in the Geico car.
Well, just remember, if you go back to the fall race, Casey Mears was the driver pushing Michael Waltrip through 3 and 4 when that big wreck happened. He was going to finish second or win this race.
Lap 6, and for the first time in this race, someone besides Martin Truex leads a lap. Matt Kenseth is the front runner at Talladega, 6 laps in. Eight laps complete at the world's fastest speedway, Talladega, Alabama. Matt Kenseth's Toyota remains out in front of Jimmy Johnson and Casey Kane, teammates in Chevrolets. Then the Fords of Eric Almirola, Casey Mears, and Trevor Bayne. Now, Carl Edwards said he wanted to get to the outside. How'd he get it done?
Well, there wasn't anybody that was going to let him in to move up to the outside, so he went all the way to the rear. And then he got to the outside, and now he and Brad Keselowski in the 2 car are trying to work their way back up on the outside toward the front.
They are 29th and 30th. further back and by design. That's Denny Hamlin in the number 11, his first race back after a fractured vertebrae that the doctors say is healed well enough for him to race. NASCAR concurred, so he's starting the race. Brian Vickers is standing by to relieve him, and they are hanging out back with Montoya and Tony Stewart and Michael Waltrip.
Yeah, Michael told me that he was going to go back with the kind of to take care of Denny here and help him get to that first caution when they could change drivers. And there's Brian all ready to get in the car when the opportunity presents itself.
Yeah, Michael also said in the pre-race, Denny Hamlin's his ride home, so he definitely needed to have him.
Oh, yeah.
And they will wait till the first caution flag to make that swap because they believe they can without losing a lap.
Now,
under caution.
Here's something that's going to drive Carl crazy. Now he needs to be on the inside because the outside was going pretty good there for a while, and now everybody's down to the bottom, and the inside line seems to be the place to be.
Now that's Dale Jr. way up in the third lane, and now brings it down to the second group.
And that's the unpredictability. That could be the last lap of the race. Well, I want to be on the outside. Oh, wait, no, I want to be on the inside. You just don't know here.
Your leader is Matt Kenseth, Krista.
The 20 team coming into this race with a lot of confidence. If you remember back to Daytona, they had possibly the best car in the race before they had an engine issue. The 18, his teammate of Kyle Busch, also with a separate engine issue in that race. Matt said, we know we come to these restrictor plate tracks with a lot of good things.
Kenseth has now led 7 in a row at Talladega, 7 races in a row.
Remember what I said at the top of the show, that if you can stay in touch with the lead draft, you can win this race. We talked about Casey Mears in the 13. He's in 5th. But look back there in 7th spot. David Strimmy in that 30 car. We've got Eric Almirola that's there in 4th. So these are guys that we normally don't see at the front, but Talladega will allow this, including even Trevor Bayne in that 21.
See, the underdog here has everything to gain. And nothing to lose. I mean, this is an opportunity that he has to capitalize on because he only gets this chance 4 times a year.
Darrell, what do you think of Dale Jr. trying to carve his own lane up top there?
You got to have a mighty strong car to be able to do that, Mike. And really and truly, knowing Jr. the way I do and how he races this joint, he'll play around. And I don't mean that in a casual kind of way. He will see how he can run up high, and if he can get a push from somebody and get back to the front. Right now, he's timing this out. I went to the back. I went back to, say, 20th or wherever he was. How long does it take me to drive back to the lead? And that's what he wants to know when he comes down the end of the race.
Earnhardt in the 88. He's got yesterday's winner, Regan Smith, on his back bumper, and Danica Patrick just ahead in the 10.
What I like, and we didn't see this at Daytona, is we have 2 lines here that are moving pretty good. The bottom goes for a while when everybody gangs up on the bottom. Then they spread out like we see here. And the outside line goes pretty good. That's encouraging for a great finish.
And that's something we did not see with the O car, but we're seeing it now with this Generation 6 car.
And we didn't see it at Daytona. That just tells you, these teams, I was kind of shocked when the teams asked NASCAR not to make any rule changes before we run the car again. I think they realized at Daytona they learned so much down there that they knew they could apply to this car, that they didn't want a big rule change and have to start all over again. So it really is paying off.
And NASCAR concurred, saying, why ask the teams to hit a moving target? So these cars, exactly the same rules package as at Daytona in February.
I'm Miss Sprint Cup. You're watching the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series on Fox.
Green through 17 laps, so let's take an inside look at what's happening in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint. Brad Keselowski, 201.9 miles per hour, fastest lap of the race so far. Get unlimited access to NASCAR with the NASCAR Mobile 13 app and truly unlimited data from Sprint. Learn more at sprint.com/speed.
One thing I'm seeing, and I love it every week with this car, the better the car handles, the braver you can be. And these cars are really handling well. And these guys are making not those kind of iffy moves. They're making very decisive moves with this car, and I really like that.
Now we've seen that air pocket between the cars. It's about 2 to 3 feet. That bubble of air that is hard, but not impossible to penetrate. Watch the 27.
That looks like he got a nice run up off 2 over there. Was able to give Kurt a little bit of a push, but not very much. These cars don't like to be pushed around on. Going down the straightaway maybe, but not in the corner.
Dale Jr. changes lanes behind Scott Speed in front of Marcus Ambrose. Whoa, top to bottom. That was the move Regan Smith used yesterday to win.
And what do you think Junior was doing right there?
Practice, practice, practice.
Just looking ahead, thinking ahead, boys.
See that second car on the outside line, that's David Rudeman up there in that 83 car, and right behind him, J.J. Yaley in the 36, got a top 10 finish in the Daytona 500.
The draft is an equalizer. Everybody's car here is pretty equal, and this track is an equalizer. That's why you can see these guys run up front like this where they can't do it very many other places.
Second generation racer J.J. Yaley is the biggest mover in this field, running 10th after starting 43rd.
The 87 car, Joe Nemechek there, the black car on the bottom of your screen, he fell out of the draft right from the get-go, and in 20 laps, he got lapped.
He's about 2 seconds a lap off the pace when you're running alone versus this big pack of drivers.
Larry, we're about halfway through a fuel run. What about tires today? On most of the racetracks we see, it's 4 tires every pit stop. What about here?
No, I think it will be very rare to see teams change 4 tires. I think it'll be 2 tires most of the day. But the biggest thing the driver has to do to help you with that, we talked about 200 miles per hour to 55. Don't slide those tires getting on the pit road. Then you have to call an audible and change for them.
You know, we had driver-to-driver communication at one time. Now, really, the only way a driver can communicate with another driver is for that driver to tell his spotter to go tell the other driver's spotter to tell him. So there is a delay, but you can't really make a lot of these moves without telling the guy behind you, tell that guy's spotter, let's go up the middle. Tell that guy's spotter, let's go to the outside. That's good working together.
We saw Dale Jr. drop to the bottom and down coming to pit road. Unscheduled stop just 21 laps into this race for one of the big favorites here, Dale Earnhardt Jr. And here's why.
Yeah, he got some contact right there. You see some of the nose come off of the Burger King car right there and damage to that left rear.
Krista.
Yeah, Dale Earnhardt Jr. listening to his spotter, TJ Majors, his crew chief, Steve Letarte. They're trying to clear some debris. You see him working there on the back left fender. That's where the issue is right now. Trying to get to, yeah, they're not getting it clear right now. There's definitely issues on the 88.
Earnhardt will go a lap down after contact with Travis Quapple.
But I like what they did. They didn't stay out there and wait and see if something was going to happen. They brought that car to pit road. They'll get that lap back eventually.
Yeah, a lot of ways here to get that lap back.
Quapple has also pitted and comes back on track, losing 1 lap. So 23 laps in, Matt Kenseth and Jimmy Johnson out front. And trouble in turn 1. A grenade. That is Trevor Bayne. Huge amount of smoke from Bayne's car, and that puts us under caution.
Yeah, he's up in smoke, and there's a huge trail of oil all through 1 and 2 down there.
Transmission blew up here, Donnie. We need a transmission. It's not the engine, it's the tranny.
Well, you heard it from the driver, Trevor Bayne. He thinks it's transmission.
The transmission.
But we see smoke out the tailpipe. That's usually indicative of a major engine problem.
Yeah, but the driver's pretty well got a grasp of what he thinks it is. It's probably a vibration, and he probably knew it, something in the drivetrain.
Well, Jamie McMurray in that 1 had a windshield full of smoke.
But Larry, there's a great example of what I'm talking about. See the air coming up the back? See the smoke up the back of the car? That's that air that's blowing on the car behind him, keeping him from being able to get up to the bumper.
Check up, go to the top, go to the top, go all the way to the top.
Danica Patrick, you see,
All clear. You're
the
all
same
clear.
thing went on her windshield that went on our roof cam.
Landon Castle in the number 33 will be the Aaron's lucky dog and get back on the lead lap on this first caution of the afternoon in Talladega. As Trevor Bayne coasts around without power. There's Castle. You don't need credit. All you need is Aaron's.
Yeah, Landon Castle in the 33 had just gone a lap down. Dale Jr. is back on the track, and now we're going to see what these guys practiced yesterday, the driver swap.
Now the roof hatch that was shown to us earlier, that's nothing new. It's been in NASCAR for 10 or so years. It is optional. However, the teams usually choose not to install that in the roof of the car, but here it's going to come in quite handy.
Yeah, it was designed so if a guy gets pinned up against the wall with the left side of the car, he could pop that hatch and get out of the car without being trapped in there. That was the original thought in the design of it.
So here's what's fresh off the wire, brought to you by KFC. Denny Hamlin's going to come in and give way to Brian Vickers. Matt?
Mike, we gave you before the drop of the green the checklist for Denny Hamlin. Darian Grubb just reread that checklist to Denny Hamlin, and Denny copied that. Yes, indeed, he is starting to go through that checklist of dropping down the roof net and flipping that over the headrest. In the other areas as far as loosening the belts, Brian Vickers, he's holding station here behind the wall, ready to go over, and he told me that running the sports cars over the past couple years really helps him with this driver exchange, because that's common practice in that discipline. The guys on the wall waiting for Denny to come down pit road. At this juncture, it's closed.
Couldn't have been better timing. It's perfect timing for Denny Hamlin 11 car right here at 23 laps.
But I think pit road being closed, a big break for Denny Hamlin in the 11, because it just gives them a little more time to prep to make this change.
And the reason it was closed was Trevor Bayne came to a halt right at the pit road entrance, was partially blocked.
I think that caution was I know that caution was a big break for Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88, because he went a lap down, but where he was going to come out, he was going to be by himself, and if they'd have stayed green, he'd have went 2 laps down.
24 laps complete. We're under caution. Working lap 25. Here's today's Ford EcoBoost track facts. Talladega is the longest active track in NASCAR at 2.66 miles. Daytona is 2.5. 21 last lap passes for the win. That's the most of any NASCAR track. Matt Kenseth won here last fall, the last time a Ford Fusion reached victory lane at Talladega. You see the outline of this place. Talladega Boulevard and the cross street there in the infield are part of what was built as a World War II pilot training base here in central Alabama. The land all sat fallow until the late 1960s, when Bill France Sr. was given the right to build this Superspeedway on state-owned land.
You wouldn't know it when you go over there on Saturday night, down the boulevard, as they say. That's very entertaining over there.
I know what else will be very entertaining. We're probably going to have about 38 or 39 drivers on pit road at one time. Remember, a lot of them probably just changing 2 tires. It's going to be like rush hour on Park Avenue.
Dale Jr. comes out of the pits 1 lap down, along with Joe Nemechek and Travis Kvapil. Pit road is open. And here comes Matt Kenseth and Jimmy Johnson and the rest of the lead lap cars. Krista.
Rush hour indeed. You mentioned that Matt Kenseth won here last October. He is extremely confident inside the cockpit right now. The plan for this team, right side tires only. Meanwhile, Jimmy Johnson, who he's been working with, also planning on taking right side tires and pulling out some sheet metal to make sure it's clear. Steve?
Krista Hendrick teammates Jeff Gordon and Casey Kane both say their car's handling well. Both will take right side tires, Matt.
Steve, the clock has started. Sean Curlin will help Denny exit through the roof. There is a step stool by the left rear tire for him to jump down on gingerly. Vickers slides in. Spider Gillen, the car chief, he's also out there helping through the side of the window. They've got the side window out. Now, since the car is down and Denny is out, they are going to top off the car with fuel. 30 seconds at this point. You can see Spider Gillen inside helping Brian with his belts to get the nets, especially the roof hatch net, back affixed. 40 seconds at this point. Remember, during practice, it was just over 60 seconds, both stops when they practiced this in the garage. Impressive driver exchange going on here in the 11 pit, guys.
As Brian Vickers gets ready to roll, 9 drivers chose not to pit under this first caution.
We come back, I'll tell you why. They probably won't still be on the track.
You see dark clouds moving over the track from our aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Everything we learn making tires that face the grueling demands of NASCAR inspire what we roll into yours. Goodyear, official tire of NASCAR. Throughout this Aaron's Dream Weekend at Talladega, Aaron's has partnered with the Community Food Bank of Central Alabama to help the hungry by hosting a food drive here at the Speedway. Aaron's associates and volunteers collecting non-perishable food items at the Aaron's display, proudly driving an end to hunger in Alabama. 27 laps complete under the first caution of the day for Trevor Bayne. Denny Hamlin has climbed out of the car. He is atop the pit box in the number 11 pit, and shortly will be joining Chris Myers in the Hollywood Hotel. Let's go to the garage. Jeff Hammond.
Yeah, down here with Trevor Bayne. And Trevor, you reported you broke a transmission. It looks a little bit more terminal than that.
Yeah, with oil pouring out of this thing in the garage, I'd say it's definitely the engine. We don't know what caused it yet. The thing was really fast. We fell back to 30th at the start and drove back up to 5th, and I was just trying to figure out what lanes were going to work, because it's a lot different than Daytona where everybody just rode in the top. It seems like there's 2 or 3 lanes that you can work in, so it was going to be a fun race and exciting. We got a fast forward quick lane car here, but you know, it kind of stinks for our team. It's kind of been our luck this weekend, and I guess we brush it off and take this car back to Daytona. We were lucky enough to crash it with all the oil pouring underneath it. Felt bad for Jamie McMurray. Looked like he was in a smoke bomb back there, but man, I just hate it for our team. We got a strong race car, and unfortunately it's in the garage early here.
Short day right here for Trevor Bayne.
Thanks, Jeff. Denny Hamlin talking about how the car was driving. Larry, 9 cars stayed out on that first lap of caution when the pits opened, and then...
Yeah, there was a reason they stayed out. They've all now been to pit road. 2 of them in particular, Kevin Harvick, Paul Menard, they got a lap for leading a lap, got a point for leading the lap. But I think they want to be at the back right now. And so the way to do that is pit after everybody else does.
Looked like Denny was telling Hamlin was telling Darian Grubb, his crew chief, that the thing was falling over on the right rear, like he turned in and it was really dipping down on the right rear.
Battery switch on, steering wheel on orange mark. Go ahead and fire it up. Okay, go ahead and roll. We'll go catch up. Boys and girls, we'll be ready to do 4 tires here once we get caught up. Everything feel good there, Brian? Copy. Everything feels good. Good job, guys.
So it says Hamlin on the windshield, but it's Brian Vickers aboard, a past winner here at Talladega, who has been Denny Hamlin's substitute through most of his convalescence.
But just remember, wherever Brian Vickers finishes this race, even if he wins it, Denny Hamlin gets credit for it because he took the green flag and started the race.
So it sounded like mission control.
Very much like, as we go back to green, completing lap 28, and Matt Kenseth holds the lead with Jimmy Johnson in tow. Down on the inside, it's Casey Kane with Jeff Gordon.
You see the 20 car, Matt Kenseth gets that huge jump on everybody. But man, that usually means you're a setting duck out there by the time they get up to speed going down the back. But he got some help, and that little 20 car, Matt Kenseth, is pretty fast, Larry.
Well, Krista did the report on him earlier. Remember, he led almost half of the Daytona 500 for that 20 car until he had those engine issues.
But watch what happens to Kenseth when you get too far out in front of the pack. Here comes the other lane. They're going to draft on by him, at least for a while. Jeff Burton in a Richard Childress Chevrolet out in front, and then his car stalls out facing the wind, and Kenseth gets another chance with a little help from the 48 of Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, that's a potent group down on that inside with Johnson, Kane, that whole crowd down there. That's a strong push for Matt Kenseth in the 20 car. There's Jeff Gordon back there in the 24. That inside line's got the push right now.
Yeah, you've got 3 Hendrick drivers pushing Matt Kenseth in that Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing.
15th, way up on the outside line, Danica Patrick, Steve.
And Mike, the only issue she has right now, she's concerned that the race car is a little bit light in the back, but she says otherwise it's handling well. They took 4 tires and made an air pressure adjustment on that 10 car.
And I know what she's talking about. I saw the car just go through here. The trial was very difficult to drive on these cars. The back end gets real light. I saw her car get a little bit squirrely coming through the tri-oval here with whomever that is right behind her. They're tucked up under the 2-car. Keselowski got the car a little loose.
Darrell, you have said the tri-oval is the toughest part of this racetrack.
Larry, you're running 195 mile an hour with a lot less banking, and you got to go around that turn, and so it gets real light coming through there, particularly when people are pushing you.
February Daytona, Patrick was 15th, was 3rd with 1 lap to go, trying to become only the 2nd woman ever to finish a premier NASCAR race in the top 5. She got a top 10, but not the top 5 she hoped for. Across the line to complete lap 31. Time for a Sunday NASCAR on Fox Superspeedway. Crank 'em up. Completing 33 of 188 laps. Matt Kenseth out front in a Joe Gibbs Toyota that likes to lead. Led 86 laps at Daytona in February and 33 when he won here last fall.
"36 laps in here at Talladega. Time for an AT&T race break, brought to you by the nation's fastest 4G LTE network, AT&T Rethink Possible. Chris Myers trackside here. Matt Kenseth picking up where he left off to start the season at the Daytona 500 when he dominated that race. But remember, a blown engine in the last 120 miles took him away, or took him out of the possibility of victory there. A two-time winner so far this season. Dale Earnhardt Jr., one of the favorites, had some contact earlier with Travis Quappleson Jr. in the 88 National Guard car. A lap down currently. All three Richard Childress drivers have led a lap today, and that has not been the story for much of the year. Kevin Harvick, who is last week's winner, is moving on up, and Brian Vickers in the 11 car for Denny Hamlin after the swap is moving up fast. Denny Hamlin will be joining us here momentarily in the Hollywood Hotel. And Danica Patrick, who led 5 laps at the Daytona 500, slipped back a little bit here to 20th. It was up to 13th with Tony Stewart, and Stewart Haas Racing, her teammate and boss, riding along with her. Racing fans, you think you know something about speed? Buckle your seatbelt and play AT&T's Fastest Driver Challenge. Simply call **FAST from your mobile phone to predict who will have the fastest time in the race today. It's all brought to you by the nation's fastest 4G LTE network, AT&T Rethink Possible. Let's rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Thanks, Chris. Some interesting strategy. Jeff Burton's number 31 was running 10th when they came by 2 laps ago, and he has dropped to 28th, which is the tail end of the lead draft. At first, I thought the car was off pace, but then he picked up, jumped right back with everybody. Just maybe out of harm's way a little bit, Darrell.
Jeff Gordon did the same thing, Mike. He came by here running like 4th or 5th. He got shuffled back a little bit into that middle line, and he fell way back. But this is when you've got to be, you don't want to panic. You don't want to say, I got to get back up there. I got to get back up there. This is a good time to do what I said maybe Dale Jr. is doing, and what maybe Jeff Gordon. These are smart guys. All right, I got shuffled back. How long is it going to take me to get back to the front?
Yeah, we're not even a fourth of the way through the race, and we have a lot of pit stops to go.
No need to panic right now.
Gordon's 24 alongside Marcus Ambrose, behind Kyle Busch, as the front 5 cars have broken away a little bit. And look at Brian Vickers. He's up there to 9th place, Matt, after restarting 32nd.
A big mover. He's running on the bottom. Now they made a second pit stop after the exchange, so that way they can make more adjustments to the race car. Denny had told Darian Grubb the car was on the freeze side, going back to the comments that Darrell was making, looking at the discussion that Denny was having with his team. And also keep in mind that knowing that Brian was going to be in the car, this is Brian's seat insert, and the mirrors were all adjusted to Brian Friday at the end of practice, so that way he would have a comfortable ride today.
But one thing I like about the 11 car, Denny Hamlin's car here with Brian Vickers on board, They planned this out, Larry. They didn't just decide on Tuesday, well, let's do a driver swap and put a hatch in. It takes a lot of time to put that hatch in the roof and get this thing orchestrated the way they did.
And don't worry about Jeff Burton. He's finished top 10 in 5 of the last 6 restrictor plate races. He's headed back toward the front. Crash in turn 1.
Huge crash, unbelievable crash.
Kyle Busch got into the back of Casey Kane. Kane got turned into the wall as Busch tried to change lanes. And a lot of cars are really torn up. Yes,
some heavy hits.
It's the big one.
Yeah, that started happening before it got to the start-finish line.
42 laps in, and we're going to start from our Goodyear aerial view as you see cars coming by with lots of damage.
You're going to see Kyle Busch and Casey Kane. They're up near the front right here.
Kyle on the outside.
Kyle's
Kane
on the
in
outside.
the middle.
Kane in the middle. Kane comes up, and Kyle goes down. I think it's more like Kyle went down and Kane went up. They make a little light contact right here when Kyle looks like he's getting a push from Marcus Ambrose. Starts to move to the outside and catches the back of the 5 car Kane and sends him around. You see Jamie McMurray, and there goes the 29 of Harvick.
Hamlin got hit by
Ryan Vickers in it now. Yeah,
Hamlin's car. Vickers, Rudeman,
the 70.
Stewart.
Martin Truex Jr. in 56 just basically all but stopped to keep from getting in it. Jeff Burton, you just had talked about him in the 31.
Danica Patrick, Gilliland, here it is again.
Yeah, it just gets on that right rear corner, and then Casey comes off corrects and comes right into the side of the 18 car of Kyle Busch, and then it's on from there.
Yeah, a lot of
16.
A lot of drivers running from third on back were involved in that.
Boy, Danica Patrick does a nice job of avoiding contact.
You see it right here. Just a little nudge at the wrong place.
And Darrell, what we didn't quite see there was Kyle being pushed by Marcus Ambrose into Kane.
Yeah, I think he was. I think they were going to go to the outside and go around Casey, but didn't time it just right, and Kyle ran into the back, or just barely ran into the back of the 5 of Casey Kane, and that sent him sailing. Bunch of really cars, a bunch of cars in here could have won this race.
Yeah, Biffle in the 16. We talked about Casey Mears in the 13 earlier.
But watch Danica back here. She just basically sees this whole thing unfold. All these cars are crashing in front of her. How she keeps from getting run over or run over someone, I do not know.
Threaded a needle.
Well, let's ride with Danica and see how she gets through this.
Spotter had to do a well of a job, and she did too, by not panicking.
Tiger 3 wide bottom. Caution up. Go to the bottom. Go to the bottom. All the way to the bottom. All the way to the bottom. All the way. Stop. Right here. Watch right in front of you. I can't see. Really, really good job. Really good job. Get back up to speed.
Patrick makes it through unscathed. She is 9th. Here's some Kyle Busch audio.
You all right, Kyle? Yeah, I'm all right. And I caused it.
He did. I mean, he got into the back of Casey Kane just slightly, but the cars are so light in the back end with that small spoiler on there, it's easy to turn one of them around.
A lot of good cars torn up in the big one at Talladega, lap 42. We're under caution for the second time at Talladega. Kyle Busch getting into the back of Casey Kane. Denny Hamlin going to check out the damage on his car, which was then driven by Brian Vickers and is now in the garage. Here's another look at it. Watch the 18, the M&M's car, right up behind Kane. No contact from Ambrose.
Just gets into the right rear right here, and it's just such a vulnerable spot with these cars. Are really light in the back, so vulnerable, and it just turned the car.
Yeah, it was a very small amount that he touched him, but it just doesn't take much.
It doesn't take hardly anything.
And now you're on board Casey Kane.
Clear high.
You saw the 13 at Casey Mears several times. Here's his onboard.
There you go. Come on. Yeah, we're in it hard here, guys. Okay, come to pit lane.
And Kevin Harvick right behind David Stremming.
Check up. Go low. If you can. Go low if you can. Go low if you can. We got to turn the outside wall there. Damn near everybody's wrecked.
Well, not everybody, but almost everybody. These are the cars that were involved or had some damage. 13 of them in this lap 43 pileup at Talladega. 47 laps complete. When the caution came out, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was the first car 1 lap down. So he is the Aaron's lucky dog. You don't need credit. All you need is Aaron's. Earnhardt back on the lead lap. And Danica Patrick, running 9th, had a wild ride through all that. Watch the green number 10 top of your screen after going to the apron and trying to get back up on track. Hey now, here comes Kyle Busch.
And now, you know what, Mike, that is just such good awareness right there. That 18 car is coming down that hill out of control. He's not driving his car.
And here's how she described it.
That was sketchy getting onto that last apron. The first apron was fine, but the second one was like, holy crap, I might just spin myself out going down here.
And what she's talking about,
yeah,
Mike.
it was pretty cool watching the end car there.
Yeah, what she's talking about, there are 2 levels of the apron. Right up next to the track, it's still banked quite a bit, and then all the way down off of that, it is flat.
Denny Hamlin's car in the garage. Brian Vickers caught up in it.
That's him.
With heavy damage.
I felt like today was very critical for that 11 car for points to make the chase. It's a big blow to this team.
Now, pit road will be open because so much debris out there. We may see drivers go with 4 tires. Krista.
Yeah, Larry, that's what Jason Ratcliffe, crew chief from Matt Kenseth, is trying to decide. The plan was to take, they thought 4, but then at the last minute he says, no, let's just go right sides, but I'm going to look at these laps. If they look low, if it looks like there's any sort of damage, we're going to go with 4. But the call right now is to just take 2 for Matt Kenseth. Steve?
Well, Krista, Martin Truex Jr.'s team is concerned about damage behind the left front tire. You can see some sheet metal almost rubbing on that left front tire. They have their saws out. They have some bare bond adhesive. They're going to take the tire out. Crew Chief Chad Johnson said, let's take the time to get that sheet metal off so we don't have any tire rubs. They're using pretty heavy mallet to get that sheet metal back. And again, they want to make sure there are no tire rubs on that left front tire. This all part of the damage from the big one.
Thanks, Steve. 7 drivers chose not to pit here at lap 48 complete, including rookie Ricky Stenhouse.
They'll get a point for leading the lap.
All right, let's go down to the garage area. Jeff Hammond.
Yeah, I'm down here right now with Kyle Busch. Just came out of the Infield Care Center. First thing is, Kyle, are you okay? And tell us what happened.
Yeah, I'm all right. And I don't really know what happened. I know I got in the back of the 5, and I guess I was trying to go to the outside of him, but just he moved up in front of me, and I wasn't expecting it. And then I tried to go to the outside of him, and before I could get to the outside of him, I got in the back of him. So I just hate that I caused a hell of a melee for everybody. I hate that a lot of cars got torn up, and it's way too early in the race to be doing any of those sorts of moves that whether he made it or I made it. I hated that we all got crashed in that deal. So I don't know. I think our day's done.
Thanks for your time.
A lot of cars still under repair on pit road and in the garage. More being hauled back there after a 13-car pileup at Talladega.
50 laps in under caution. Enter a chance to win the all-new 2014 Chevrolet Silverado LTZ. It's a VIP Chevy racing experience for 2. And you'll get a meet and greet with Chevy driver Tony Stewart. Visit winthenewsilverado.com right now and enter to win. Let's check in with Jeff Hammond. He's with one of the primary drivers involved in that 13-car wreck. Jeff?
Yes, I am. Down with Casey Kane. And Casey, you said you had the wind knocked out of you, but other than that, you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. We had a really fast Time Warner Cable Chevrolet. I was trying to stay behind Jimmy, and I had a ton of momentum and just had to basically go to his right, and then I saw I could get in front of the 18, and yeah, that's what I thought happened. It was pretty similar to that. So we're just going for it. And there's a lot of momentum, everybody shoving, and you can't really hit from behind in these cars. I got hit a little bit, and then more to the right, and just kind of spun to the inside. So it was nothing you could do at that point.
Tough day for Casey Kane, guys.
Thanks, Jeff. There's the melee. 50 laps now complete. We'll go back to green this time as cars continue to get unloaded off the rollbacks. No place is safe, Darrell. Behind the race leader, Matt Kenseth, 9 of the next 14 cars were involved in that pileup.
Matt Kenseth won this race here last fall because he had a fast car and he stayed out front and stayed out of trouble. I always told Hamlin, I would tell you the same thing, Larry. What can we do to help you at Talladega? Give me a fast car.
Keep me up front.
There's a look back through the top 10 as we get ready to restart with 51 laps complete. Matt Kenseth, who's led nearly 1/3 of the laps in the last 8 Daytona and Talladega races combined, he is the front runner. Jimmy Johnson alongside Toyota versus Chevrolet as they come back to green.
Boy, Matt Kenseth in that 20 slid right up in front of Jimmy Johnson in that 48 before they even got to turn 1.
Yeah, they were working really well together just before that caution came out, Larry. The 48 of Jimmy Johnson had been given the 20 of Matt Kenseth a nice shove. They've been working well together.
That inside line, Regan Smith in the 51, Joey Logano in the 22. That close finish yesterday in the Nationwide Series race with those 2 drivers, Regan Smith going to victory lane.
If you're going to be in this race, if you're going to be a player in this race, if you have any ambition whatsoever of winning this race, you got to put that wreck out of your mind and go right back to doing what you were doing. You can't let that affect what you're going to do the rest of the day. It's way too early.
And that shot from pit road showed big gray clouds looming to the west. The late afternoon forecast, 60% for rain. We'll ignore all that for now as they run through the stay dry down in turn 1 and get right back at it.
And it doesn't matter how many times your spotter, how many times your crew chief, how many times somebody says, don't push the car in front of you. They're a little light through the trial. You can't, sometimes you just can't avoid it.
Now, where's Clint Boyer headed?
I'd say he's looking for maybe the 55 car.
His teammate Michael Walker. I'd say that's exactly what he's
little
doing.
Brother back there. Remember, Clint Boyer was not much of a factor here until late in the race here last year, and I think that strategy pays off for him, and it's what he's going to probably try to do today.
You saw Yaley and McDowell coming through, a couple drivers who had great runs at Daytona. There's McMurray in the 1 and Dave Blaney in the 7. It's like you said at the top of the show, Larry, if you can stay with that lead draft, you've got a chance to win this.
That's the whole key, but I do definitely agree with Darrell that the safest place is where Matt Kenseth in that 20 car is at right now. That's absolutely out front. Look at Danica Patrick in that 10 car on the inside. The green car, she has found her boyfriend, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the 17. They're back up in the top 10.
.54 laps complete, back under green and missing a lot of contenders. Well, let's update the Hamlin Vickers number 11 with Matt.
Mike, the co-drivers are back here in the garage area. Vickers sits patiently in the car. Denny is up front looking over the repair work. They've already taken sawzalls and cut off just past the front wheel well openings, taking all the fender and nose section off. That's sitting outside the garage. Right now they're just trying to trim the replacement piece that all the teams have down here in the garage area just for this type of situation. They've got quick connect hose fittings on the radiator. They are close to getting this put back on. Then they'll take huge chunks of duct tape, also known as Bear Bond, to help seal this in place and get this 11 car back out as soon as possible.
A lot of work going on in the garage. Here is a look at today's Toyota top performers with Matt Kenseth out in front, leading 45 of the 55 laps so far. Martin Truex in 12th and David Stremme 20th.
It's just, some of these guys are just so comfortable driving in packs like this with cars all around them, the car wiggling. I know these cars, you can't see it from maybe our camera angles, but these cars are moving around. The driver's trying to hold the steering wheel as straight as possible, but the wind buffing off of the cars in front of you, beside you, the car is moving around a lot more than you think it is.
There are pole sitter Carl Edwards in that 99 car. He's all of a sudden decided he wants to run up at the front. Remember, he dropped back. There he is up in the top 5.
New leader Ryan Newman takes his Stewart-Haas Chevrolet to the front. He did it on the low side with Brad Keselowski and Carl Edwards and Kurt Busch, and they left Matt Kenseth on the high side. Now Edwards jumps up in front of him.
And now Brad Keselowski jumps up in front of Carl, and then Ryan Newman jumps up in front of all of them. A whole lot of jumping going on here.
Yeah, the only top 5 finish for Stewart-Haas Racing so far in 2013 was Ryan Newman, 5th in the Daytona 500.
Little 39 car is strong, I'll tell you that. When he took the lead, he took it rather with a lot of authority.
Kurt Busch now leads the inside lane with that blue Ford of Eric Almirola and the yellow Chevrolet of Paul Menard. And you saw about a 2-mile-an-hour difference between the 2 lines there. Now it's 3 wide.
Larry, watch that 39 car gap these guys coming off the corner there. That thing is going somewhere. Got a lot of power.
Krista?
Well, Kurt Busch has already been through some obstacles in this race. They actually had a right front flat when all the chaos was happening, so they had to come in and repair some fender damage. Kurt Busch so strong at the restrictor plate tracks, but still looking for that first plate win. He said, I just have to go back to basics to try and survive and hope our number comes up at the end of the day.
And they had quite a bit of damage, or they had damage, I don't know how much, but they had damage from that wreck earlier. But it looks like they got it repaired up pretty good.
3 wide as they come to the line, and Kenseth retakes the lead from Kurt Busch.
And where is 39 now? Ryan Newman.
Yeah, it's almost like the same thing happened to him that happened to Brad Keselowski in the 2 just a second ago, up to the high side, all the way to the back of this pack of drivers.
Kurt Busch pitted 4 times to fix damage. They got it fixed all right. Tony Stewart's back on track. He has lost 2 laps. Jeff Gordon without losing a lap. Casey Mears 1 down. Jeff Burton 2 down, all after being involved in that crash. Next time by, here's a look at our Royal Purple race summary. With Matt Kenseth out in front once again, he's led 50 of the 62 laps so far. 31 cars on the lead lap, 8 leaders, 12 changes, 2 caution flags, and a 13-car pileup at lap 43 has sent Kevin Harvick to the garage with Casey Kane, Kyle Busch, Greg Biffle, Brian Vickers, David Rudiman, Travis Kvapil. Trevor Bayne caused the first caution and went out of the race with a blown engine. But Matt Kenseth is proving hard to handle here.
Yeah, and really the experts were all wrong about this race too, because a lot of people told me they thought we'd see a lot of single file racing today. We haven't seen much single file racing since the green flag came out.
What else I'm seeing is, look at that 9 car, Marcus Ambrose, all the damage in the rear of that car. But I think Drew Blickensderfer and that 9 crew, they took the time to get things right. Look at all the stuff flapping. But Krista, he's right up there in the top 5. Krista.
Yeah, just a quick update on Marcus Ambrose. You know, at the start of the race, he was complaining of his race car being a little bit too loose for his liking, a little bit squirrely, and he talked about the way they were racing each other in practice just to get fast lap times. He said, we were all driving like idiots. Stay tuned for that.
Yeah, his car is definitely not handling as well as I think he would like for it to. It's moving around a lot. He was right there with Kyle Busch and them, you know, in that big melee when that started. That car's got pretty free, I'd say.
Well, Darrell, where that would be an issue even more so if he was out there trying to lead the race.
Yeah, I don't think the car with the damage it has would be a car that could get up front and lead, but certainly when he stayed right there in that pocket of air, he's going to be fine.
Well, let's update Ryan Newman. Newman's number 39 made it to the front, led 2 laps, drifted back on the outside, and has now found a home right behind most of that lead pack. There he is in the center, the black and silver car in 21st, Matt.
Mike, Ryan Newman fans need not worry. Keeping an eye on later in the race, Newman, he led a lap, but more importantly, telling his team and Matt Borland, his car feels much more comfortable in the middle to the high line on the racetrack, and also keeping an eye out on weather. That was the game plan, to go up front and lead at least one lap, and then drop back and ride and be comfortable.
I tell you, the way he took the lead, he reminded me a lot of this 20 car right here. I mean, he drove up there, passed everybody, took the lead, pulled away a little bit, then he drifted to the back.
Yeah, he did it with authority. Now the 9 of Marcus Ambrose has been shuffled out, and he's back about 15th up on the high side. Just found a spot there behind the 1 of Jamie McMurray to get back in line.
And with the damage he has on his car, Mike, he can't afford to get too far back, because if he gets shuffled out of the draft at all, he'd be in big trouble.
The importance of leading a lap, it's a Sprint Cup Series point.
Let's get an update on Ambrose from Steve.
Mike actually going to update the 99 after Chris to update the 9 car being loose. His brethren in the Ford camp, Carl Edwards, is also loose. He said, I have to be in the right spot at the right time to make a move right now. He said his car got loose when he was up around the 20, close to that restart.
Yeah, and I think that, again, at Daytona, these guys complained a little bit about the handling of the car. Here, not so critical, but it is a factor. And that little blade on the back of these cars in traffic with people all around you will make your car move around more than you'd like.
For more on aerodynamics and handling, let's join Jeff Hammond at the Ford touchscreen.
Folks, when it comes to Talladega, there are some differences between what we saw last weekend, particularly at Richmond. This is the configuration of the car and the spoiler that we had at Richmond and most every place else we go. But today, here at Talladega, if you'll notice, in the gray, this is the big spoiler that we run every place else with the exception of Daytona and Talladega. In red, this is a Superspeedway spoiler. A lot less drag, a lot less stability in the race car. Another addition that's different than what we see whenever we race any place else is NASCAR adds a piece of metal at the bottom of the rear bumper, and it's designed to not let air come out from underneath the car, which would help cool the car behind it. This is one of the reasons why they do not want bump drafting, and this is one of the things you'll be noticing today when the guys offset to try to cool these cars. They can't get air from that area.
Thanks, Jeff. We're just past 1/3 distance, 68 of 188 laps, 120 to go. Matt Kenseth out in front of Jimmy Johnson. Between them, they've won the last 2 Daytona and Talladega races. Kurt Busch, Eric Almirola, Martin Truex, Paul Menard. Laps, Matt Kenseth the leader. Let's take an inside look at what's happening in the Sprint Cup Series. Brought to you by Sprint. Matt Kenseth has led the most laps today. Get unlimited access to NASCAR with no metering, no throttling, and no overages while on the Sprint network. Learn more at sprint.com/speed. 198 miles an hour for Jimmy Johnson into the corner. Watching from our Feeding America cam. Wow. That's a roller coaster ride, Darrell.
And that's exactly how it feels. And with that banking, not only does it feel the car go up on its side like that, that's what it looks like on camera, you get a lot of downforce. You sink down in that seat when you're in the corner. Then when you come off the corner and the thing levels up, you kind of pop up in the seat a little bit. Right here, you're full compressed. You're in that 33 degrees of bank at 200 miles an hour, and trust me, it's pulling down on your body.
Larry, another thing that shot shows are ominous, heavy, dark clouds coming from the west.
Yeah, and we've got green flag pit stops that will be coming up here in about 20 laps, and we're roughly now about 20 laps away from halfway. I think that's another reason these guys are racing so hard up near the front in a big pack.
Juan Montoya came within a caution flag of winning last Saturday night at Richmond. This car, a different paint scheme. It's white this week. There's the 42 of Montoya. Let's check in on him with Steve.
Mike, just recently, Juan Pablo Montoya inside the top 10. He's been telling his team that he needs his car to be a little bit more stable. He also had a concern about gauges, but the gauges seem to be okay now. It's the stability that he's fighting.
And we're just hearing that across the board. These guys that are back in the pack in traffic, Their cars seem to be a little unstable. We saw how sensitive these cars are when Casey Kane got turned around by Kyle Busch.
And Larry, look at all the fellows we described as pleasant surprises at Daytona, like Michael McDowell in the Phil Parsons number 98, and the 36 of J.J. Yaley, other drivers who got top 10 finishes there. Same song, second verse.
And the aero package here is the equalizer. Go back to what we said at the top of the show. Stay in touch with the lead draft. You can be a contender in the closing laps of this race.
The secret for all these teams is you can buy a car from another team, that a Daytona Talladega. You can buy an engine for Daytona and Talladega that is the same engine that's in the other, in the good cars like the 20 or the 48. Those are two things that you can do at Daytona and Talladega that you really can't get away with anywhere else.
Add Dave Blaney, David Reagan, David Gilliland to that mix. They're all right in one big pack, along with Josh Wise. Reagan in the 34. He's a former Daytona winner. Won the July race a couple of years back.
I just think it's a comfort zone for guys that don't have anything to lose. They can just go out there and they can drive like they normally drive. They don't worry about getting in a wreck. They don't worry about points. They just worry about one thing, making money.
When I look at David Reagan in the 34 and Josh Weiss there in the 35 and David Gilliland in the 38, teammates, they wrecked together early in the Daytona 500. They dodged that one a while ago, though.
From the fastest to the oldest Superspeedway, NASCAR on Fox. Next Saturday night, Darlington, South Carolina. Mother's Day weekend, the Southern 500. Terry Labonte in the 32, the Frank Stoddard car, also running with that pack. And younger brother Bobby right alongside in the 47.
Making his 700th career Sprint Cup Series start here today.
77 laps complete. Matt Kenseth, Jimmy Johnson lead the field. Turns 3 and 4 in deep cloud cover, sun in 1 and 2. You'll see from our aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Everything we learn making tires that face the grueling demands of NASCAR inspires what we roll into yours. Goodyear, official tire of NASCAR.
Only blue skies right over the racetrack, and you know why, Mike?
Oh, it's the vortex.
You got it, brother.
81 laps complete. And Joey Logano looking for somewhere to go. And that number 22 Ford. Here's Matt.
Mike almost won the nationwide race on Saturday, and Joey Logano now has moved up to the high side. He's been fighting a very loose race car most of the event. In fact, the last report he had, it was almost like a four-wheel drift. That's why he's moved from the bottom to the middle lane.
Pulls up behind Martin Truex, who had some crash damage, and Regan Smith, yesterday's winner, on the inside.
See, all the drivers have said before this race started, the handling is not an issue at Talladega. Daytona, yeah, that's a big deal, but Talladega, that isn't a big deal. I disagree, and I think they're learning real quick. With this car and this aero package, these things are a handful.
Dale Jr., 21st right now, has been toward the back end of this lead draft. 31 lead lap cars.
But it was the last caution that he got the free pass and back on the lead lap because he had to pit earlier before a caution came out with a problem with the left rear tire.
Scott Speed alongside in 20th, former Formula One driver, and on point. Matt Kenseth, Jimmy Johnson, Kurt Busch, Eric Almirola, and Paul Menard have stayed single file for the last 8 or 10 laps here. Everybody positioning for the next round of green flag pit stops.
That can be exciting here, trying to get on pit road.
105 laps to go, weather permitting, darkening skies to the west as they run near 200 miles an hour on the world's fastest speedway. It's been 40 laps, 100 miles since the last round of pit stops. The lead group now 7-8 cars strong. When the leader pits, will they all come together? Will they break into smaller packs?
I think we'll see them come over the course of about 2 or 3 laps. I know we're getting close to halfway, but a lot of them are going to be forced like the 51 car, Matt.
Absolutely, Larry Mack. Regan Smith, they've already topped him up. Right behind him, the 1 car, Jamie McMurray. He's told Bono Mannion, make a huge adjustment. I can barely hang on to this 1 car. It is wrecking loose.
Both the Ganassi cars pitting on the same lap. Montoya getting finished up, Steve.
And Mike Juan Pablo Montoya, as we said, trying to find more stability. His car has been loose. They took 4 tires and made a chassis adjustment.
Larry, I don't know the last time I've been there when I heard drivers complain about their cars being loose, is so loose like these guys are all complaining about their car today. That means to me, you better put 4 tires on it every time you get a chance.
Well, and the last time all of these drivers were on pit road under caution, only 2 drivers that did not change 4 tires, who up front, Matt Kenseth and Jimmy Johnson.
Well, when you're up front, it's like riding in an airplane. It's smooth as silk, man. But when you're back in the pack, it's like turbulence. It's like riding in an airplane that goes through turbulence when you're back in the pack.
Hitting this time. Commitment line at the Sunoco sign.
All right, we'll expect some of the leaders in this time.
I'm with you right here.
As we complete 90 laps. Here they come, hard on the brakes.
Right here, bud. Right here. Coming to you guys.
Kenseth, Johnson, Kurt Busch, Almirola, Menard, and more. Matt?
And the 27 of Paul Menard, he comes to a stop. His car was tight earlier. And then Krista.
It's been all 2 tires for Matt Kenseth. This time they go with 4, but our gremlin's starting to creep in. Matt said about 10 laps ago he started to feel a vibration, Matt.
Service already complete for Ryan Newman, Krista. He took right side tires. They did make an adjustment. He could have gone to lap 95. Michael Waltrip was in as well. Right side tires for both.
They had to push the 27 back. He slid through his pit box.
Kenseth leads them off pit road with Boyer, then Johnson, Earnhardt, Busch, and Truex.
Here comes the next wave led by Brad Keselowski in the 2 with his teammate Joey Logano in the 22.
New leader David Reagan. Matt?
And Joey Logano was complaining earlier about his car just being totally on the free side, just a 4-wheel drift. They've topped him off with fuel. They are going to go 4 tires on the 22. Steve, what about his teammate?
Well, Matt, to this point, Brad Keselowski's been content to run nose to tail with the lead pack. 4 tires and fuel for Keselowski. Meanwhile, you see the 99 to the right side of your screen. He's been saying his car has been loose, but they'll take just right side tires this time.
Carl Edwards leads that group, including Stremme, Keselowski, Logano, and Gilliland off pit road. That leaves only 3 cars that have not pitted. Here is David Reagan, the race leader, with Josh Wise and Jeff Gordon. Let's check with Jeff Hammond.
Mike, I'm down here at the NASCAR trailer. I wanted to show you. I found their radar screen. I want you to take a quick look. I know we just got through making pit stops, and this is what these teams are going to start basing their strategy off. We see a lot of broken showers all to the west of us as far as coming through Birmingham. This is where the Talladega Speedway is located. So at any moment, this could be the end of this race. I mean, I'm talking about the very next lap. We could see rain on the back straightaway or any part of this racetrack. So these teams are going to have to get their drivers to get up front, stay up front, and I mean fight to stay up front the way this weather's looking.
Thanks, Jeff. Jeff Gordon in the 24 stayed out to lead a lap of this race with 96 to go. He should be in next time, and that will complete lead lap pit stops.
Yeah, those drivers right there, like Jeff Gordon and Casey Mears, they pitted 2 or 3 laps deeper into that last caution than everyone else, so they can go a little bit further.
Once we reach lap 94, we have what would be an official race. NASCAR requires half the distance or greater be run in case of inclement weather. Certainly we're hopeful of going 188 laps today. The forecast says it might be otherwise.
Well, we do. One of the things that really was impressive yesterday, how quickly they drive this big 2.6 mile speedway with the air tighten that we haven't seen in action until we got here. We did see a little bit at Martinsville, but here, Burnsy.
Hey, DW, give this 24 team a lot of credit. After they were caught up in the big one, they came to pit road 4 times to make fixes to the sheet metal on that 24 to get it fixed up. They had also checked the toe. They're going to get 4 tires this time, but great effort by this 24 team to get back into this race.
Jeff Gordon leaves pit road as Matt Kenseth has the field midway down the back straightaway. And Matt has led 700 laps in a season 5 times in his career. This year it's taken him just 10 races to reach that mark. flag pit stops complete. Our halfway report coming up. Matt Kenseth in command at Talladega.
91 laps to go, and time now for the AT&T mid-race report. Chris Myers, glad you're watching with us. Rain in the forecast for later in the day here at Talladega. The halfway leader even more critical. If the rain is shortened here, it is now official. NASCAR season lap leader Matt Kenseth dominating the first 200 miles plus under a cloud of penalties. NASCAR appealing on Wednesday, and a 13-driver wreck affecting Kyle Busch, Casey Kane, and Tony Stewart, among others. Darrell, who are you keeping an eye on?
Well, I tell you, Dale Jr. was a lap down in 43rd. Got the lucky dog. He's back in the lead pack here, running third right now. He's won this thing 5 times. I think he goes to victory circle for the first time in 8 years here at Talladega.
Well, Darrell, here is why that may be just true, because right now he's saying the car a little bit edgy, but the key to their success is that they do not panic. He knows patience is a virtue at a place like Talladega. They are exactly where they want to be right now. Larry, Matt?
Krista, Jimmy Johnson, the 48 car, they did not finish a single restrictor plate race in 2012. He followed it up by winning the 2013 Daytona 500. But Matt, I know he's been back behind Matt Kenseth for all these laps. I think he's summing things up.
Larry and Matt, keep an eye on the 15 of Clint Boyer. He runs 5th. Now, the 15 driver is impressive at every type of track layout, but especially here at Talladega. Now, the car was both tight earlier and loose of late. Right side tire should help tighten him up, and now he's back down in the bottom where he won from just a couple years ago. Mike?
Matt Kenseth has thoroughly dominated this race. I know, only 3 times in the last 18 years has the halfway lap leader gone to victory lane at Talladega. But one of those 3 times, Chris, was Matt Kenseth here last October.
And his Joe Gibbs Racing teammate Mike Denny Hamlin is with us, starting his first race since late March when his back was injured at California. Went the first 25 laps before Brian Vickers took over in the 11 car, then caught up in that wreck. First of all, Denny, thanks for stopping in here physically. People want to know mentally how you're feeling after getting back in the car.
Good. It was obviously very good to be back in the race car, but man, that excitement was short-lived with Brian. So. Man, it's tough. You know, looking at the standings right now, unless there's another wreck, we're only going to get about 6-7 points out of today. So that's going to be tough, but still proud to be back in this FedEx car.
So physically, at this point, you would say, hey, Darlington Saturday night, you'll be back for the full ride.
Yeah, we'll be back and aiming for victory there. That's what we got to do. We won there in the past. We finished. I think we got best average finish there of anyone. So excited to finally get back to 100% hopefully next week.
Yeah, you were 10th in points, now 28, obviously, after you have ground to make up. But I know your chase starts now, as you had said. How about this race so far? Give us your driver, your expert analyst perspective on what you're seeing.
Well, it's a very typical Talladega race. You usually have a wreck early to mid part of the race that kind of thins some of the field out. Then you're going to see this mid part where you're going to see a lot of guys being very patient, like Larry was talking about. The 48 just kind of content to ride there. They know they're in a safe spot. They're around guys that they're comfortable drafting with. And from here on out, you'll see some game planning. You'll see who's fast, who's not, to see who you want to possibly push there at the end and either help or couldn't get in front of and push your car to the front.
And the rain threatening the area certainly will play a role. We'll continue to watch the race with Denny. He'll chat with us and offer further analysis with Darrell, Larry, and Mike and our pit reporting crew as well. 86 to go. There's your leaderboard. You're watching NASCAR on Fox from Talladega.
3 laps to go as they come to the stripe. And an interesting lineup of the 14 lead lap cars in this draft, cut short because of green flag pit stops. There's one Toyota, Matt Kenseth. Right behind him are 3 Chevrolets. Jimmy Johnson, teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Kurt Busch in the 78. Right behind them, 3 Toyotas, teammates from MWR, Clint Boyer, Martin Truex, and Michael Waltrip in the 55. Right behind them, you guessed it, 3 Fords, Carl Edwards, Eric Almirola, and Brad Keselowski, and a 4th Ford, the 22 on the outside of Joey Logano.
But that was all great pit work by the drivers getting on pit road. Great work in the pits, and this little group here, about 15 of them have separated themselves from some of the other cars. But that was great job by everybody getting on pit road. Carl Edwards only took 2 tires, and I was wondering why they only did that, but it got him up here in good track position.
Yeah, I think one reason I would have liked to have hit pit road and took 4 tires that time is everyone has to make at least 2 more stops.
I think Carl was looking to get up here with this lead pack. He'd been kind of hanging at the back, and there's a real comfort zone right here with these guys.
Joey Logano in a 22, he found a friend for a moment with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in that 17, but now they've fallen back in line. And think about Ryan Newman in the 39. Showed enough muscle earlier to go up there and pass Matt Kenseth and lead a lap.
Teammates side by side, the Penske Fords. Keselowski the 2, Logano the 22. Out there by himself trying things. Now the 17 of Stenhouse, he had been drafting with, yes, his girlfriend Danica Patrick. They're an item. Giving a kind of new measure to speed dating, 195 miles an hour type, and they were nose to tail. But now Danica and the group that she has with, because of those green flag pit stops, they've fallen about 8 seconds behind the lead pack as she runs there with Bobby Labonte, Regan Smith, and David Reagan.
Yeah, these guys, gals and gals, came in they weren't quite as good getting on pit road. Their pit stops were just a skosh slower, and it separated them from that front pack.
Add David Gilliland to that group of 5 that are running about 8 seconds off the lead. Kenseth back to the stripe a final time, and then we'll pick up that group coming into the tri-oval.
Hey, Denny, a lot of the drivers are complaining about their cars are loose and the cars are moving around. Did you notice anything while you were out there in the race?
Mine was for sure, and I was in a little 4-car pack. So I tell you, these cars are edgier than what you would think, especially with this being a fairly new surface. But I really think that it has aged a lot more in this last year than we've seen in years past.
So the cars, I was surprised, like you said. How many drivers have said their cars are loose or in 4-wheel drifts? They're really hard to hang on to.
Yeah, I told my crew chief the exact same thing when I got out of the car. I said, man, for running just a little 4-car pack, my car is pretty loose. So it's something that the crew chiefs are going to have to work on all day.
Yeah, didn't it look like you were telling him it was sinking down on the right rear? You were kind of using your hand and your say it looked like you were turning to the right and it was dropping down on the right rear.
Yeah, we would dig on the right front. It seemed like the right front tire would dig down, and it's something that really I was fighting late exit more than anything. And it's okay when the guys are running in a single file line like this, but I tell you, at the end of the race, when they're really going to have to maneuver and go 2 and 3 wide, that's where you're going to see the accidents from the guys losing control of their car.
79 laps to go. Matt Kenseth in command, and of the 13 drivers in the lead pack, except for Ricky Stenhouse, a rookie, they're all veterans. However, one of them, the driver in 7th place, is a part-timer now. Matt?
Mike, very talkative on the radio, is owner-driver Michael Waltrip in the 55 machine. He's been giving a lot of suggestions for his 2 teammates in front. He was telling his team to tell Martin Truex in the 56, I will go wherever he is, but they're all concerned about weather.
I would prefer they have a plan together than to split up. So if they can do something together, I'm going to follow the 56 wherever they go.
And that makes perfectly good sense. I mean, here's Michael. I mean, the 55 car's up and the owner point's pretty good, but he would love to see Martin Truex in that Napa car win a race. That car has been so close on so many occasions. I know he'd love to see Martin win if he can.
6 second-place finishes for Truex since the last time he went to victory lane in a Sprint Cup race. Matt Kenseth still out front, 77 to go. Now led 100 laps in the Aaron's 499.
Yo, Mikey, the Fords are grouping up on the outside, and they are coming to the front. I think they looked up there, they saw those 3 Toyotas of Michael's cars. They said, those guys are working good together. Let's group up here on the outside, because that's a whole line of Fords coming up the outside.
And they did, Darrell. They reorganized behind rookie Ricky Stenhouse.
And look what happened.
Yep.
Jimmy Johnson bailed.
And up top went Matt Kenseth. And now he's lost Johnson, and it's Johnson in the 17. And right in the midst of all that, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and what a roller coaster day the 88 has had.
And so, Mike, why are they doing that? Because it's getting ready to rain.
And we are past halfway.
We are seeing what these guys have got right now. This is like a end of the race preview of what they've got right now.
Dale Jr. got a lap down, made it back, got a free pass, got back to the front. Sprinkles in the grandstand at start finish as the field comes by at 116 laps, 72 to go. Blue sky over turn 2 and turn 3. Sprinkles at the start finish line. That's how big this facility is.
But I think finally Jimmy Johnson in that 48 car wanted to try something different. He saw those Ford drivers reorganizing on the outside. He left Matt Kenseth and now leading this race.
Yeah, Larry, what he's doing now is what he intended to do at the end of the race. But he had to go, is pressed into going ahead and making that move.
Down the back. There's
Nobody knows how long this will go. That was Jimmy Johnson. Johnson, Stenhouse, Edwards.
You're looking at the guy that won the Daytona 500, and he did it in very similar fashion. Dale Jr. sitting back there, ran second. I knew when I saw the 48 and 88 lined up that the 20 was probably in trouble. Krista, what are you saying?
Well, yeah, and as you said, Daryl, they played the weather game. You know, Chad Knaus was letting Jimmy know exactly when the weather was coming. That was when they were going to make their move. Up on the spotter stand, they were starting to feel the drops first. So when Earl Barb and Jimmy Johnson's spotters said, I feel it, that's when Jimmy Johnson went.
Yeah, he feels it too. He feels the lead.
Well, will that faucet stay turned off long enough to complete 70 more laps? We'll see as Jimmy Johnson leads at Talladega. In the dust, and Jimmy Johnson has lost the lead.
out. Yellow is out.
Caution is out. Now, as 4 Fords lined up and march to the front, and it's time for windshield wipers. The rain has come to Talladega.
According to the scoring monitor, Ricky Stenhouse is leading, and our pole setter Carl Edwards running second. I don't know if that's at the timing lines or here at the start-finish line. We'll see.
Well, they were single file pretty much, Daryl, so Ricky Stenhouse is trying to become Talladega's 11th first-time race winner.
He was trying.
More than that. There's been a bunch here, including a lot of drivers whose only Sprint Cup victory was here at Talladega.
I'll ask our guys over there, when's the last time the pole setter won the race here?
We'll check on that as well. Now, as of the last scoring loop crossed before the yellow, Carl Edwards is the race leader. There's Edwards pulling out to pass, along with Joey Logano in the 22. And at the moment of caution, NASCAR goes back to the last scoring loop crossed so that once the caution waves, no one can gain advantage. That puts Edwards in front.
Two things we saw. They're teammates. Did they cut each other any slack? Heck no. I mean, Stenhouse was trying to block Carl to keep him, to keep the lead. Did Jimmy Johnson cut Dale Jr. any slack? Oh, when it comes down to the end of these things, you got no friends, you got no teammates.
Rain to the south and west of the speedway.
And Mike, not to confuse the viewer, but if you were watching the race yesterday, because that was the finish of the race, they go to where the drivers are at the moment of caution. But because this is well before the end of the race, they go back to the last scoring loop to determine where the drivers are running.
Right, because we expect that we'll be able to restart. However, now fans are hustling out of the grandstand for drier ground as the rain moves in from the south.
Now here's the box that these drivers and their teams are in. They would have to come to pit road for fuel in about 8 to 10 laps. So it's going to be interesting to see how long we possibly run under caution here. I think you're going to see a lot of drivers dropping down to the apron, a lot of drivers cutting their engines off.
Look at the laugh on Jimmy Fennig's face. Carl Edwards timed that move perfectly. Not sure if it was from instruction or just he felt it was time to go, because the Fords were all lined up single file. And then into turn 1, Carl made his move. Next corner, caution's out.
That's the same pair that timed it perfect in practice on Friday to cut that fast lap at the end to be able to start this race on the pole.
And that's the same man that led Matt Kenseth to 2 Superspeedway victories, Daytona and Talladega last year.
Light sprinkle wipers aren't even running on the pace car, but Carl Edwards is out in front.
Yeah, Jimmy, yeah, baby.
Welcome back to Talladega with 63 laps to go. The caution is out for rain coming in from the south, as was expected. Now let's go through the NASCAR process of determining who is the leader when the caution flag comes out. There is the caution light. You see the green light is on. Edwards just barely ahead. Now it's yellow. And the difference, 1,000th of a second as of the last scoring line that they crossed. Just about 1/2 a car length right at that point where the scoring loop runs just below the asphalt. So Carl Edwards, your pole sitter, is your race leader. That was the first lap he had led today.
And Jimmy Fennig is crew chief with a terrific call. Mike, time for an AT&T race break brought to you by the nation's fastest 4G LTE network, AT&T Rethink Possible. Chris Myers and Denny Hamlin here at the Hollywood Hotel, and Denny back to race for the first time since late March because of that back injury in the wreck at California. And in the 11 car, Brian Vickers standing by as Talladega, the site of Brian Vickers' first Cup win. Meanwhile, Dale Earnhardt Jr., after rubbing with Travis Kvapil, went a lap down when Trevor Bayne had engine problems. He got that lap back, did Dale Earnhardt Jr. And after 25 laps in, the old switch in the 11 car. And then the biggest wreck of the day so far, at least 13 drivers involved. At first, Kyle Busch took responsibility and then hesitated, but he and Casey Kane were the ones that got the worst of it. Tony Stewart, Kevin Harvick among those that were involved as well. And moments ago, with rain falling in the area, and it was in the forecast all day, just not sure exactly when it would come. And again, this race is at least official so far. At the last moment there, 1,000th of a second, Jimmy Fennig, the crafty crew chief, who Darrell Waltrip said on the pre-race show, if you don't know his name, you should, for Carl Edwards making that call. And Denny Hamlin with us, if you missed him a moment ago, said he feels great, and he'll run full time here at Darlington next week. But let's get your thoughts on, just put us in the driver's head here. First of all, that move, if you're Edwards, if you're Stenhouse Jr., what's going on there?
More than likely what happened is going down the front straightaway, Carl got quite a bit of showers on his windshield, and he thought it was urgent. I need to go right now. So what we actually saw on the tape of them, a 1/2 a car length difference, that's not actually where the scoring loop is. If you go back 1,000th of a second is roll it back. It's just like Kurt Busch and Ricky Craven at Darlington. It is that close. So Ricky may have narrowly missed out on his first victory here.
Now you're relying, as a driver of the rain, but your crew chief, his call, any kind of move out of the ordinary, given that the rain is coming, as you said, you're feeling the rainfall.
Well, you even saw, I mean, those two were teammates, and they were running each other pretty hard there into turn one, so they knew that the rain was right on top of them. My guess is they saw it in their windshield.
Denny, your plan coming into the day, we know, was one thing, but you were aware of the rain. Did they set out and say, hey, we think it's coming at this checkpoint?
Yeah, I heard it right around 3 o'clock local time here. So it's I tell you, it's right pretty close to it. So, looking at my radar on my phone, I'm not sure it's going to be a race-ending rain, but I think it'll at least set us out here for just a little while.
All right, and we've only had one rain-shortened Talladega race in history. Jeff Gordon won that in 1996. Right now, just under caution for weather. We'll have more in a moment.
Welcome back to Daytona's sister track, Talladega, Alabama. 63 laps to go. That's 50 minutes of green flag racing. A lot of activity on pit road right now, as after a big rainstorm, we're close to getting ready to go racing once again. It's been a busy day at Talladega. Denny Hamlin back in the car for the first time since his California crash, getting ready for the driver change. Hung out at the back of the pack until the first caution flag when Brian Vickers could climb aboard. Travis Kvapil got into Dale Earnhardt Jr., and that put Jr. a lap time down. He got back on the lead lap when Trevor Bayne blew up and the caution came out. Hamlin popped out of the car, and Vickers climbed in. But Kyle Busch turned Casey Kane into the wall. 13 cars in all piled up, Vickers being one of them. A lot of damage for Harvick. He's out of the race. Tony Stewart under repair. And then just before the rains came hard, there was enough water on the windshield for Carl Edwards to make his move in front of Logano around his teammate Ricky Stenhouse in the 17. And as the caution light came on, Edwards, who started on the pole, was the race leader. They dried the track. It rained again. It poured. We had 1/8 inch hail. And here's how they stand with 63 laps to go.
Here's the thing. Now we get a do-over. If you're Matt Kenseth, you want to have a do-over. But what Carl Edwards, Stenhouse, Logano, and Keselowski did, they've shown their hand. They've shown what they're able to do. So Matt Kenseth's going to have to be on his game on this next time when we come to the checkered flag.
See Matt Kenseth there in the 20 car in 12th, led 101 laps of the 122 we've run so far.
And Danica, she's just kind of hanging in there right now. And I tell you, there's some guys in this next 10 there, and certainly a few of these guys here as well that are not out of this race. Jeff Gordon's a lap down, but he gets a lucky dog. He gets back on the lead lap. Don't count him out.
26 lead lap cars, 4 1 lap down, and others a bit further back on what's been a day of wacky weather, including hail at Talladega. They almost had the track ready to go, Darrell, and then it poured again. But now, thanks to the jet dryers and NASCAR's new compressed air system, all that they are left to dry is the exit of pit road.
Yeah, I mean, the track's great. We're just really, really close to getting going. But one thing I've noticed, you know, we're seeing a little bit different kind of racing here than we saw at Daytona. Daytona's narrow. And this car, I've heard every driver say it, this car is putting off a different wake. It's putting off a bigger wake than what we've had here in the past. When Daytona, you're running so close together, you're feeling that wake. Here the track's bigger and wider. You can get away from it. And I think that's why we're seeing some 2- and 3-lane racing and some good side-by-side racing, because you got a little room between you and the guy that's off to your side.
Larry, does that difference surprise you, given that we have the exact same car rules package here as at Daytona?
No, it really doesn't. I think the track being different is part of it. But just remember, Daytona, that was the first race with this Gen 6 car. Teams and drivers, they were just scrambling to get there. And then they had a week and a half, drivers and teams, that they built that notebook. Now they've had 2 months since then to work on this car. I'm not surprised at all that we're seeing better and much more aggressive racing here.
Darrell, they've been saying this car is easier to drive. Yeah. But today, a lot of drivers are saying the car is a little loose on it.
Well, it's easy to drive when it has a 7-inch spoiler.
Well, yeah.
But when you cut that down to 3 inches and narrow it up a little bit, you get a little loose in the back end. The back end wants to wallow around a little bit, and that's what these guys are experiencing. For one of the first times ever here at Talladega, handling's a bit of a factor.
All right, a pit stop when they roll the cars off, and then one more?
Yes, sir. 2 more stops to get to the end.
All right, 63 laps to go, and we're told that within 10 minutes, drivers will be ordered back to their cars and get back on the speedway to run the final 63 laps here today. We want to welcome you back to Talladega. Those of you that have been watching your local Fox News, the jet dryers and the compressed air Titan system have done their job. Look at how light gray the racetrack is. We are just about ready to go. A few damp areas at the pit entrance and exit, and we'll be ready to load them up and wave the green once again.
And Mike, there might be people at home saying, well, why would they fool around and drive the track again and get these last 50 laps in? That is a commitment that NASCAR made to the fans 60 years ago. You paid for 500 miles. If there's any way possible, we're going to give you 500 miles.
All right, drivers coming back out onto pit road, headed for their cars. Let's see how the Daytona 500 on Fox finishes up from February. Then we'll be right back here to Talladega.
Because of rain, I'll take the victory. That's not the case, and now he is a target.
Absolutely. You've got 35 drivers or so that are very happy to see this race go back green, and one disappointed one.
The engines have been fired. And with about an hour and a half of daylight left and 63 laps to go and rain in the distance, we'll see who can win the 88th race here at Talladega Superspeedway. Appreciate Denny Hamlin sitting along with us after he hopped out of his car and into the Hollywood Hotel. And it was fun having Michael Waltrip come from his car after the pre-race show to join us and chat as well. So let's welcome in the voices of NASCAR every weekend, and they've hung around all afternoon. They had no choice, actually, because we wanted to see the end of this race, and I can't believe we're going to actually see it. It's Darrell Waltrip, Larry McReynolds, and Mike Joy.
Well, we've enjoyed dinner while you folks have been carrying us through this rain delay. And now it's interesting as they line up. We got 25 or so cars on the lead lap. But at the top, 4 Fords, 3 Toyotas, 3 Chevrolets. They're not all teammates in that mix, but it looks like everybody is pairing up with their friends. How long will it stay that way?
Well, here's what has happened. Everybody knows what your game plan is now. We saw those 4 Fords get lined up on the outside and were able to drive by Matt Kenseth and take the lead. Matt is now aware of that. So it's like a trick play in football. You can run it once, but you might not want to run it twice. And so everybody's now got in their mind what they need to do to fend off that kind of attack, whether it's from the Toyotas or from the Fords and from the Chevrolets as well. So got a lot to see what's going to play out here.
Well, Kenseth has led 101 laps today. The whole rest of the field combined has only led 20. He got shuffled back, Larry. So if you're Matt Kenseth's crew chief, how do you counsel him of what to do if suddenly you find yourself again without any friends?
Well, I think the good thing is Matt Kenseth has a fast race car, and there's a lot of drivers out there that knows he has a fast race car. I don't think he's going to stay back there. But the interesting thing, Mike, you were asking me about strategy. We're at lap 125. I think everyone will pit here for tires and fuel, but if we get north of 140, as far as 140 laps right now before we go back racing, you may see them top off because they can make it from there.
And Matt, I mean, you got my brother's cars, all 3 of those, and they could get with Matt and they could do what the Fords did. So the team thing, teammates working together, manufacturers working together could be big.
A big cheer from this rain-drenched crowd. They've seen rain and hail this afternoon. And crewmen assisting on Pablo Montoya. They've taken the right side window out, working there in the ignition area, trying to get him refired. Teammate Jamie McMurray behind, and a crewman's going to jump in and do some quick diagnosis.
Yeah, Mike,
here.
he's got another backup ECU unit he's sticking in the car here. That thing has got moisture in it, I bet you.
Yeah, that's the unit that pretty much controls everything with the electronic fuel injection, ignition and all, and it looks like, as you're saying, Darrell, they're changing that whole unit out. There's also a relay box that you have to sometimes reset.
Yeah, this looks pretty serious. I mean, I saw a red box in the crew member's hand as he got in the car, and that's one of the engine guys, I think, that just jumped over in there.
That box is required by NASCAR as part of the electronic engine management program.
It's not the ECU. It's not the ECU.
It's not the ECU.
Not the problem. So rain, apparently water affecting Montoya's car from being able to restart here.
Of course, he's one of the drivers still on the lead lap, had that great finish last week in Richmond, but this year, if it can happen to a driver, it's happened to Montoya.
I mean, just look at last week. He had to race 1 last week, and a late caution cost him a shot at the victory.
Jeff Gordon getting a little surgery and repair to the right front corner of his car.
Yeah, he's got a lot of issues with that right front. I noticed the right front tire, the letters were all rubbed off of it like that fender had been getting into it.
Yeah, I saw the 24 team of Jeff Gordon's, also Marcus Ambrose, the 9. You see him there on pit road as well. This gave them a lot of time to make a plan to make more repairs to their cars. Remember, they were involved in that crash pretty much back on lap 42.
And you see the 9 car, his right front tire, same thing, got fender rubbed there. But I just saw him take the 42 behind the wall.
If Montoya didn't have bad luck these last 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe that.
What they'll do, you can see they're going to plug the laptop into it right there. You cannot plug that laptop into the ECU on pit road. It has to go behind the wall. This will help them diagnose what's going on with that 42 car.
This first pace lap under caution is going to take about 2.5 minutes. That's a benefit to the cars on pit road. A lap under green here takes less than 50 seconds.
Yeah,
now that green flag and green light signifies not the race has restarted, but that pit road is open.
Yeah, we were within about 8 to 10 laps of what would be green flag stops when that caution came out.
Most all the cars on the lead lap coming to pit road. Matt?
And Joey Logano's crew members up on the wall. They were going back and forth whether they were going to go 2 or 4 tires on this stop. They are going to go on Todd Gordon so they can make sure that they have it topped with fuel. And he's away, Krista.
And after hours and hours of delay, Ricky Stenhouse back in the car for 2 tires. Right sides only for Ricky. Steve?
Left side tires for Brad Keselowski in that 2 car. Right sides and plenty of fuel for Carl Edwards.
Larry, 2 tires on the 99 again, only right sides.
And they were making some type of an adjustment to the left rear of Brad Keselowski's car when he had it jacked up on the left side. You can see they're still there making some type of repair adjustment.
Look like they have left rear quarter panel damage.
8 cars did not pit. Kurt Busch is the first of those, so he is the race leader ahead of David Reagan, Scott Speed, the Labonte brothers, Gilliland, Smith, and Wise are the drivers who did not pit. We'll see if they come in this time around. Getting ready to restart after a 3-hour, 36-minute rain delay. Thanks for staying with us with NASCAR on Fox. Last time by under caution, Kurt Busch pitted along with Brad Keselowski. So David Reagan in the number 34 picked up the lead with Scott Speed and Terry Labonte. Now they come to pit road. That should leave Bobby Labonte out on the racetrack as the new race leader. He'll pick up 1 Sprint Cup bonus point,
Mike,
for leading a lap.
I'm so excited.
Why?
1 to go. 1 to go.
Well, it's only been 3.5 hours, Darrell.
It's like we're starting out like a whole new race.
Clint Boyer in for repairs, while Juan Montoya comes out from behind the wall. They're going to get that car restarted and back in the race. Jeff Hammond.
Yeah, Mike, what they've been doing, the guys from Hendrick Motorsports, Jeff Andrews, told me they changed the throttle body. And again, the ECU one more time. They're not too sure which one fixed it, but they were able to get the car refired. And they're now going to try to figure out whether it was a throttle body problem or a bad ECU.
Well, the ECU manages spark and fuel delivery. All the throttle body does is control airflow into the engine.
It's got to be electronic. It had to be that ECU unit.
Jeff Gordon all patched up. Not pretty, but he's on the lead lap, which means he's 1 lap down in 29th place. 25 cars on the lead lap, including Brad Keselowski.
Well, 3 guys that are a lap down with Jeff is McDowell in the 98, Blaney in the 7, Castle in the 33, and then Jeff, who stands, you know, a pretty good chance of getting back on the lead lap with a lucky dog if he can pass those guys.
58 laps to go when they wave the green flag.
Now, the best I can tell, we've got 4 drivers up front that they were on pit road during the red flag, but they've not made a pit stop. You've got Bobby Labonte, David Gilliland, Regan Smith, and Josh Weiss. It's almost like they're still playing the weather game here just a little bit, because by my calculations, they can't go very far before they have to make a pit stop.
Well, it is very cloudy over in turns 3 and 4, and you know, maybe they have good radar. Or they got really good gas mileage.
Reminds me what Richard Petty often said. I'd rather be lucky than good any day.
Yeah, I think you're going to need a little bit of both in this case, because it's going to take a lot of luck with not very much fuel in the tank.
So the first cars with full fuel load will be Joey Logano in 5th and Carl Edwards 6th. That's row 3 as the crowd gets excited because we're going racing once again at Talladega with 58 laps to go to the scheduled distance. Green flag, Bobby Labonte, past Cup champion, and David Gilliland bring them down for the restart.
And you know, I said it's like a whole new race, and to these drivers, it really is. It's just like starting all over.
3 wide, McMurray up top in that red car. Everybody wants position.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some pretty urgent racing right there. That looks like Carl Edwards stuck in the middle there, going backward right here.
And Matt Kenseth comes right up against him and has to jump on the brakes at number 20.
We've seen this happen to Carl a few times, getting caught in that middle lane like that and can't go anywhere.
But I wish you'd look at this. 3 by 3 by 3 as far as you can see back through the field.
Larry, they don't remember what happened in the first part of this race.
4 wide through the tri-oval. Bobby Labonte, the leader.
Well, I love Bobby Labonte, and this is his 700 start. And I don't know the last time we said Bobby Labonte is the leader.
Gilliland on the outside, trying to take it away. And he's got help from Joey Logano and Ricky Stenhouse. And Matt Kenseth in the 20, who's been the fastest car all day and has led over 100 laps.
Look at that 20 go. Oh, my gosh.
He just threaded it right up through the middle. A little bit of help from Martin Truex Jr., that 56 car right there.
Look at the back of the cars, Larry, how low they get in the corner. They really sink down, and that back bumper is really close to the track.
Racing the rain and darkness and each other, Labonte leads at the stripe again.
You think track positions are very important? That's Bobby Labonte right now. He loves being up front. He's getting the push from all those cars behind him, and he's being able to stay there.
Tad Geschichter single car team with Labonte.
But David Gilliland in that yellow 38, be another driver that does not have a Sprint Cup Series win. We talked about Talladega producing first-time winners.
4 wide again. And plenty of room there with Stenhouse up top. Now a number of drivers pitted more than once before they waved the green flag. One of those was, whoa, here to the outside, Logano.
Whoa, Logano.
4 wide. And it's the 20. Once again, Matt Kenseth coming straight through the middle, threading the needle, and back toward the front.
Matt Kenseth said, you know, I got to redeem myself. I lost the lead. I may have almost lost this race. He's trying to redeem himself from what happened at the when the race was stopped.
Joey Logano on that 22 hung on the outside, falls all the way back. Now he's getting a little bit of help from another one of those Ford drivers, Stenhouse Jr. in the 17.
Yeah, Stenhouse, the rookie, had nowhere to go but to the back with Logano.
But watch those cars, how they just move around. They just sway around because of all the wind.
Ronnie Danica Patrick in 20th. Everybody in that lead draft who's on the lead lap has a chance at this one. Quickly to Matt Yoakum for an update on Boyer.
Mike, Boyer had to make another trip to pit road, a broken fender brace in the right front. They brought him in, cut it off, sent him back out.
Well, I tell you what, I know a former driver, I'm on the edge of my seat right now. How about you, Hamlin? What are you feeling right now?
I tell you, I'm looking at these guys, and there is a huge sense of urgency. I mean, they're racing like it's 15 laps to go, and we still got 54 laps and at least another pit stop left. So you can see the intensity is really picking up, and I'm wondering if they're going to make it to the next pit stop before they wreck.
Well, it sounds like a little moisture. I just heard Jimmy Finning tell Matt a little moisture, so you got to be careful here.
So on the outside, that is Kenseth. Inside, Labonte. Last time he led under green was at Indianapolis last July. Kenseth across the stripe to lead this lap. Truex working the outside in the blue car.
We've been seeing drivers get kicked to the top side and get kicked back. Just saw Regan Smith in that 51 back there. They kicked him to the bottom and just left him in a cloud of dust.
Well, Carl Edwards, who was in there falling back, all of a sudden he is there now. Carl Edwards up into second place, and look at this. Look at this wad.
Kurt Busch pushing Michael Waltrip, and on the outside in the 43 Almirola. Well, we talked about all that manufacturer cooperation. 4 Fords, then 3 Toyotas, then 3 Chevys. Forget about it. Kenseth Toyota in front. Edwards Ford in second. Jimmy Johnson Chevrolet in third.
Yeah, and my brother sitting there in fifth. That's where he was when the race stopped. He's hanging right in there.
Martin Truex alongside, but alongside is no place to be of help.
No, all Michael wants to do is stay right there. He loves where he is right now.
Casey Mears reporting a loss of fuel pressure.
These cars, Mike, just like electronical problems with the 42 car, when these cars are hot like they were, you set them on pit road, they cool off. Sometimes you have all kind of issues.
Now, Brad Keselowski in that 2 was fighting his way to the top 10. Remember, he had to make several pit stops. Steve Burns was telling us about that quarter panel race. He had almost got to the top 10, but no help now.
Keselowski 14th, way up on the high side, alone, drifting back with Dale Earnhardt Jr. Now back to 18th, 19th as Newman goes by on the inside.
There are 2 drivers that I think both were looking for redemption. We've already talked about Matt Kenseth in that 20, but think about also Jimmy Johnson in that 48 car in third. Remember, he had got kicked by that Ford camp.
51 laps to go. Matt Kenseth has now led 105 laps. He's back out front, but for how long? Cloudy, but clean track, as you see from our aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Everything we learn making tires that face the grueling demands of NASCAR inspires what we roll into yours. Goodyear, official tire of NASCAR.
Larry, I think these 4 or 5 guys up about Michael and maybe even Kurt Busch are pretty happy. But watch that 17 car. Remember how he got up front at the end of before we had the rain delay? Up on the outside, making a lot of moves. And here he comes with the Marcus Ambrose pushing him along.
Well, he's got 3 Ford drivers behind him. It's just a different group of Ford drivers than what he had earlier.
Making that outside work. And they're coming.
Ambrose, Gilliland, and Michael McDowell working with Stenhouse on the outside.
Now, this is where you remember last time Matt Kenseth said I didn't do a good job of picking up the line with a push. He better keep an eye on that outside line.
Starting to make some noise. And they're going to come up on Paul Menard, who's 4 laps down after making a pit stop. He's dropped a cylinder, but gone back out on track to find it. There's his yellow car out in front of the pack.
I really like what Stenhouse doing. He's side drafting up on these cars. He gets on their side and then he pulls away. Right here, watch. He gets down on the side and then he pulls away. He's getting a really nice side draft off these cars that he's passing.
And Darrell, that's pretty impressive. This is actually his first Sprint Cup Series start at Talladega. Only one other start in the Gen 6 Cup car. That was in the Daytona 500 with this package.
Kid's smart, and he's a quick study. I mean, he picks his stuff up in a hurry, as we well know.
And the third lane begins to form up. Dale Earnhardt Jr. with Danica Patrick, who now leaves Jr. A couple of others working up there. And some slow cars to get past. Kyle Busch is back on track. Greg Biffle back on track. They're each more than 50 laps down after being in that wreck at lap 42.
Bad news for the 48. They moved up a little bit. Jimmy didn't, and he got left behind here. And now there's Stenhouse right there with Carl Edwards, which is what we saw at the rain delay.
Yeah, just before Stenhouse and that 17 got there, that's pretty much when Kenseth and Carl Edwards jumped up there. Matt Yoakum, what about Joey Logano?
He thinks the motor may be going south. It may be blowing up right now. He's giving the diagnosis to Todd Gordon and the engine tuner on this 22 machine. He's trying to make his way to pit road. Tough break for Joey.
He will make it to pit road. He's at the entrance now, Matt.
Now some of this 3-wide traffic is going to run up on Menard, running on 7 cylinders. Now they get to the straightaway. Everybody should be able to get by him.
Yeah, Menard actually stayed high, which I think is a pretty good move, really, because everybody was trying to hook the bottom. He stayed up high and not in anybody's way.
But that kind of funnels the field into single file running order for the most part. At the front, there are now 8 cars in the breakaway.
A guy I've been watching is Dale Jr. He was all the way back in 18th place not too long ago. Right now he's cracked the top 10. He's running 10th, but he seems to be finding inching his way forward a little at a time.
Matt, what's wrong with Logano?
Mike, at least one plug wire has been burned on this 22 machine. They're getting a spare right now to send over the wall.
Just seems like when your car sits that long, it just seems like you always have something going on, just like Montoya in his 42 car.
But remember, the things are at race temperature. All of a sudden you shut them off and it starts raining. You get all that moisture, and all kind of things can happen to your car. It can mess up your radios in your car.
There's a 7-car string at the front. Michael Waltrip a little further distance back than Martin Truex and McMurray and Earnhardt. If they can band together single file, we'll see if they can run down the lead group when we come back. 42 laps to go in Talladega. .39 laps to go. Let's have an inside look at what's happening in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint. Matt Kenseth, 117 laps led. The whole rest of the field, 23. Get unlimited access to NASCAR with the NASCAR Mobile 13 app and truly unlimited data from Sprint. No metering, no throttling, no overages. Learn more at sprint.com/speed.
You know how you know you got a fast car, Larry? Everybody follows you wherever you go.
But just look at this track temp here, 30 degrees. You know, Denny and Michael and Darrell, they were talking about these cars being loose early in the race. That right there will absolutely make these cars get more grip, especially with the rear tires, and make them where they're not moving around.
Make more power, too.
Yes, sir, especially that air temp.
The driver who was leading at the rain delay, Carl Edwards, now riding second. Let's go to his pit and Steve.
Mike, he just told spotter Jason Hedleski, the biggest thing I want to know is who's moving behind me. And Jason Hedleski replied, well, that 9 car has plenty of damage and plenty of speed.
Yeah, but he's sitting in pretty good shape. He's got Stenhouse and Ambrose behind him. That's pretty encouraging if you're Carl Edwards.
Kenseth is on pace to set a new record for the most laps led in a Talladega race. Pete Hamilton from Dedham, Massachusetts, driving Richard Petty's number 40 Petty Blue Plymouth, won the race here in August 1970. He won the Daytona 500 the same year. He led 153 laps here that day. Well, that second pack, Michael Waltrip made it up to the lead pack. But not many others did. Martin Truex did. And then the second pack, led by Jamie McMurray, has Dale Earnhardt Jr., David Stremme, Regan Smith, Ryan Newman, Clint Boyer.
And I think Michael went back and actually picked up Truex. I think he went back there. Truex was falling back. Michael fell back to get him and pulled him up to the back of this lead group right here. But the interesting thing to me is there's a second group. It'd be interesting to see if that second group can catch this back of this pack right here with the 56 and Truex. Here comes McMurray in this group. Get them up there. Goes Dale Jr. Some good cars in that pack.
Well, that second group did the right thing. They lined up single file. The problem for them was so did the first group.
Yeah, I don't know who sent out the memo. Hey, let's ride around the top of the track for a while. Maybe it's because it's getting late. You know, maybe they would say, well, let's just ride around the top here. It's getting a little late.
But I think the X factor in this whole equation, everybody will have to make one more stop. It's going to come roughly with 20 to go. What will they do? Will it be fuel only? I don't think any driver will have his team change all 4 tires. Maybe 2 lefts, maybe 2 right. But to me, that's the whole X factor in this thing.
Saturday night under the lights, Darlington, South Carolina, the annual Mother's Day Southern 500 Mother's Day weekend.
Larry, what year was it at Gilliland? He drove for Robert Yates. He drove the 88 car and ran so good.
Yeah, actually has a couple of poles here driving for Robert Yates Racing.
And he's sitting there in really good shape. He won a pole at Daytona.
For the Daytona 500?
Yeah. I mean, this guy knows how to draft.
And he's sitting there in 5th. And that loves number 38. Just in front of Jimmy Johnson. 1 Toyota, 4 Fords, then 2 Chevrolets. Then a pair of Toyotas, then a pair of Chevrolets, and so on back. No clear advantage except that when Matt Kenseth has been leading the train around Talladega, he has pretty generally been hard to pass. It took 4 Fords to gang up on Kenseth to wrest the lead from him before the rains came. Now that second group has gone to the bottom groove in the corners, trying to take the short way around in hopes of closing the gap.
Yeah, I think that that second group, they actually are losing touch with the front pack up there. The front pack's running high, like you said. You can see the difference in the line here. McMurray in the back leading this backpack, but they're not making any progress. So actually, they're losing a little time.
The difference about 0.3 of a second a lap, but that adds up when you're running 200 miles an hour. 33 laps to go. And now it's one long train as the second pack caught the first with the help of a draft of 4 lap down cars running at the bottom of the racetrack.
And this is how they did it. The second pack started running low while everybody up ahead was running high, and they were able to close that gap, and they caught up to the back of that front group. If I were McMurray, Dale Jr., and those guys, I'd keep diving to the bottom.
Of the 5 drivers in front of the field, only one, Matt Kenseth, has ever won a Sprint Cup race at Daytona or Talladega, the 2 restrictor plate tracks. Jimmy Johnson came down in front of Michael Waltrip, now pops back up with the front 4.
I think Michael, his spotter must have told him that inside line is moving pretty good. Maybe you ought to get down there and try it, because they are making good time coming up on this lead group here.
Jimmy came back down. That kind of left Kurt Busch out to dry. Matt?
Mike, that was a call from Martin Truex through the spotters. Truex wanted to run the bottom and asked if Michael could jump down, and that's exactly what he did.
Wow, now Kenseth comes to the bottom, bringing Edwards with him.
I think right now Kenseth is just watching his rearview mirror and what I like to call minding the gap. He's keeping an eye on everybody. The lane that's moving, that's the one he's going to go in.
One eye out the windshield and one in the mirror.
Yes, sir. And I think he learned that from getting caught out there when we were coming to the red flag.
Big loser on that move was Clint Boyer, who went all the way to the back end of the lead draft from mid-pack. Here's Boyer behind Ryan Newman.
Yeah, he tried to go up to the top, and there just no one would go with him, and he just gets kicked back to the back of this pack.
Now, I think Carl says, okay, I want to try something, because he moved up and just gave that position to Jimmy Johnson. I think he wanted to get back there with the 17 car and see if they could do anything on the outside.
They have Ambrose and Gilliland with them, so again, 4 Fords.
And here they go. Here they go.
Inside 30 laps to go.
I think the experiment has started, Larry. What have I got to do? Where do I want to be?
Well, and we know they'll all be to pit road over the next 8 to 12 laps if we don't get a caution for that final pit stop. David Gilliland, who stayed out when we went back under caution, he actually was one of several drivers that had made a stop prior to the red flag.
Boy, Carl Edwards went almost to the wall trying to follow Matt Kenseth, who then went right back down to the double yellow do not cross line.
Carl is, I don't know what Carl's doing. He's messing around here and losing a lot of spots. That's one thing I know, but I'm not sure why.
Denny, what's that look like to you?
Yeah, I tell you, we saw at Daytona that really whatever line works is the one with the most cars in it. The high line works at times, maybe the low line, but that's what Kenseth is constantly looking at. What line is coming up on him, making a run at him, and he'll block that move. And he knows if he gets hung out at all, he'll go to all the way to the end of this pack. So he's just constantly getting information from his spotter. All right, the 48's making a run, now the 17, and he'll continue to bounce back and forth between that high and low line.
Yeah, I think one driver told us during the red flag, it's the line that has the biggest quantity of drivers. That's the one that's moving.
Well, my favorite saying in Ty Norris, he spotted for me when I drove Dale's car, he would say, your line has the push. Your line has the cars in it that are going somewhere. Get in that line.
Pretty equal numbers now. Boy, you know, Matt Kenseth, he'd get a ticket for that. If that was on the highway, you talk about unsafe lane changes, but at 200 miles an hour, fair game.
He's going to get a ticket. He's going to get a winning ticket.
Could be.
What I've seen with Matt, and he's doing exactly what he said he was going to do when he went back out here. I'm going to be a little bit more on the defense this time than I was when they caught me out there coming to get the red the last time.
But Darrell, he's got a fast enough race car. He can do what he was doing, kind of keeping going back and forth from the low line to the top line.
Working both sides of the street. Whichever line is moving, that's the one I'm going to go in.
26 laps to go. Ambrose on the outside of Earnhardt.
Boy, I tell you, they got to run on him this time going up the back. But when they get to the back of his car, it seems to shove his car forward a little bit.
The guys that are the busiest right now, spotters and crew chiefs, making deals about when they want to hit pit road, because you want a few partners to come with you the way the draft works.
And the weatherman. Their guy down there, pretty sure he's watching that radar pretty close.
25 laps to go this time by. One more pit stop to come. Who's going to win in Talladega? .23 laps to go. Matt Kenseth's Toyota continues to lead the Chevrolet of Jimmy Johnson, the Toyota of Michael Waltrip and Martin Truex, and the Ford Ricky Stenhouse Jr. One pit stop to go, and it could come in about 3 laps.
That's going to, we said it when we went back to racing. Larry said it. The pit stop is going to determine so much. Getting on pit road and having a solid stop without a mistake.
By the driver or the crew.
And Denny said it too. These teams have been setting for 3.5 hours. Have they loosened up enough to make a quick stop?
Larry, how long could you wait to make that stop? We're still running under green. There might be a sprinkler or two on the windshield. How long do you dare stay out there if you were on pit road at lap 127?
Well, these guys have a pretty good idea how far they can go. They want to go as far as they can, but you don't want to just come by yourself. You need to come with partners.
I tell you what I do. Whatever the 20 does, that's what I'm doing.
Well, to do that, you'd have to be on that inside lane at turn number 4.
Stop, pitting this time, pitting this time. Take care of your tires.
Take care of your tires tells me there may just be some gas and go here, Larry.
And with 20 to go, all you need is one full can of fuel.
Take care of your stuff.
21 laps to go. Half of the race leaders are coming. Johnson gets past Kenseth, and they're 4 wide, coming to the commit line.
My goodness. I've never seen that many cars on pit road that way.
Matt?
And depending on the team, Mike, they only need anywhere from 3 to 6 seconds of fuel. Michael Waltrip already away, Krista.
With Matt Kenseth, I've been counting as he comes in. It was about 7 seconds of fuel for Matt Kenseth.
Martin Truex Jr., fuel only for the 56. He wasn't happy with the way he got on pit road. There he goes.
Jimmy Johnson, Michael Waltrip off pit road with Boyer, with Kenseth, then Newman, then Truex and Stenhouse. That leaves Kurt Busch out there in the lead with Marcus Ambrose, David Stremme, David Gilliland, Carl Edwards. 11 cars at the front, and here come most of them.
Now, I like this pack. It won't be near as congested.
And we may have penalties on that first group of cars to come in as stops continue. Ricky Stenhouse too fast entering the pit road. Martin Truex too fast on pit road.
And we saw him 56 pass everybody to get on the pit road.
Gilliland's away. So now only 6 cars remain that have not made their stops. David Reagan, Danica Patrick in 2nd place. Brad Keselowski 3rd. Scott Speed, Eric Almirola, Terry Labonte are your race leaders at 20 to go. So here's your sprint, 20 to go, as those lead cars come to the pit lane after a 3-hour 46-minute rain delay. 15 leaders led by Matt Kenseth, who's been out front for 134 laps today. Rest of the field just 34. Jimmy Johnson. Between them, they are the 2 most recent restrictor plate winners. Kenseth at Talladega. Jimmy Johnson won this year's Daytona 500. He's currently 7th. The dark horse, part-timer Michael Waltrip, currently 8th after making his final stop. Not bad for a fellow just making his 2nd start of the season.
Yeah, and got on pit road beautifully.
And that's your sprint, 20 to go. Scott Speed, the number 95 Levine Family Racing out of Texas, and the former Formula One driver, has a lap of the lead here. Now Eric Almirola goes by with the lead as Speed pulls off to make his stop, leaving just 2 cars that have not stopped, Eric Almirola and Terry Labonte. That 43 has carried Richard Petty to 200 NASCAR victories and into the Hall of Fame. And once again this year, that car is Petty Blue, and Tampa, Florida's Almirola behind the wheel.
I know his crew chief knows how to win at Talladega and Daytona.
But Darrell, what makes me nervous about Eric Almirola in the 43, you see there on the left, here you see the other guys that's already made their stop, is the group he's running with. I think it's just pulling him down right now.
Well, did you see that block that Jimmy Johnson just put on Michael? Michael had a run on Jimmy, and Jimmy cut him off, and Michael had to take evasive action there to stay off of Jimmy.
Here comes Almirola and Terry Labonte to make their stops. They were hoping for a caution. They did not get it, so they will be the last lead lap cars to pit. 18 laps to go. Jimmy Johnson out in front of Michael Waltrip and Matt Kenseth. Here's your Pepsi Max presents the Max Move. Remember, 56 got nabbed for speeding. That's Truex, and 17. So a nice entry by Jimmy Johnson in the 48 and by Matt Kenseth in the 20. Fearless in the middle of those 2 cars. And look at the pit comparison.
And the big deal is the crew right there of Jimmy Johnson. That's almost 2.5 seconds quicker than Matt Kenseth's 20T.
And that's your Pepsi Max Move. Waltrip out of line. Who goes with him? Nobody. Is he going forward or back?
No, that's going to go to the back of this line, which is not a bad place to be, really. Carl Edwards right there. Here comes 15 of his teammate Boyer. And I never know, Michael may want to work with Boyer. He may want to get back there and they work together.
But Darrell, he's losing a lot of ground. He better get caught up quick because there's not a lot of help behind him right now.
Yeah, when you pull out like that and you don't get right back in line, they can leave you in a hurry.
After green flag pit stops, these 6 drivers are alone to settle it. Jimmy Johnson, Matt Kenseth, those 2 class of the field today. Gutsy Kurt Busch in 3rd. Carl Edwards, the pole sitter, in 4th. And teammates Clint Boyer and Michael Waltrip.
We know how bad every driver would love to win. That driver in 3rd right now, Kurt Busch, I'm not sure anyone would want to win a race worse than he wants to win right now.
And there's nobody better at Talladega and Daytona than the guy driving a 15 car, Clint Boyer. He is awesome at these restrictor plate tracks.
Last driver to open the season with wins at both the Daytona 500 and this race was Jimmy Johnson in 2006.
Well, you just never are sure what that 48 bunch is up to. He's run at the front all day long. He's followed Matt Kenseth most of the day, but when it comes showtime, they always put on the best show.
This group has a 3.5-second lead on the foursome of Ryan Newman, Marcus Ambrose, Jamie McMurray, and Dale Earnhardt. Here they are, 3.5 seconds back. Further back, David Stremme, Danica Patrick, Regan Smith, and David Gilliland.
We heard Michael say something about his back wheels got lifted up. Let's see what happened here. Uh-oh.
Michael McDowell has hit the wall off the back straightaway, and we are under caution.
Boy, this makes it a whole new game here.
That car owned by Phil Parsons, another driver who got his first and only Sprint Cup win here at Talladega.
Yeah, right front tire down. I'd say that's what happened to that car just looking at it.
It'll be the 4th caution flag of the day, counting the long delay for rain. And with 14 laps to go, we're under yellow.
This changes everything.
Yes, it does.
Now those guys that needed to get caught up are caught up, and we've seen these restarts. We know what they're like. We're going to see some of the craziest racing we see all day.
There's McDowell against the wall.
Yeah, just seeing that right front fender blown up and the tire already down. I'm pretty sure he lost the right front tire.
Larry, you have your fuel. You've got pretty good tires on the car. Track position or turn left to pit road?
No, 24 drivers on the lead lap. Yeah, we certainly may see some of those maybe outside the top 15, but I'd say the top 15 to 18, their bet is made, and they've got what they've got.
2 guys big break, the 17 to 56. They were left behind, and this should put them back in the hunt.
Stenhouse now 23rd and Truex 24th. The last 2 cars on the lead lap. Jeff Gordon will get the free pass. He's the first car 1 lap down.
Jeff's car's not great, but I tell you, when you get the draft going, you never know.
Pit road will be open this time as darkness beginning to descend on Talladega, but the fans who stuck it out through 3.5 hours of rain, they are hardy and they are here and ready to go. So Jeff Gordon is the Aaron's lucky dog. You don't need credit. All you need is Aaron's.
Jeff Gordon's old car's all patched up, Larry. But you know, with the draft, you're going to be surprised. He's going to get a pretty good finish out of this, I think.
Well, we've seen how good Marcus Ambrose in that 9, and he's been running with that car beat all to pieces.
So here comes Almirola and Speed. Remember, they were 2 of the last drivers to pit under green, so they have little to lose by making a stop here.
Boy, I tell you, if I was at the back like Almirola, like this call right here, I'd come in and put me 4 good tires on that thing so I could go somewhere.
Well, that's what looks like what Stenhouse and Truex are doing as well. Steve.
And Martin Truex Jr. locked his brakes up, Mike, on that last entrance to pit road. He said he didn't like his entrance. He hit some moisture, locked his brakes up, so they're going to take this opportunity to get those tires off that 56. 4 tires for Martin Truex Jr.
Hey, Denny, you've been driving as hard as you can go. What do you do now? What do you do to take it to another level? What energy, what kind of moves can you make?
The next level is going to be a big wreck. I can tell you that for sure. These guys have been driving on edge really since we've gone back from the rain delay. So, you know, I think that probably Jimmy Johnson's looking to see what lane he's wanting to start in, whether it be the high line or the low line. And a lot of it's going to be dependent on what he's got behind him. Who's in 3rd? Is that a guy that's going to more than likely work with me or against me? So it looks like there's another Chevrolet in 3rd, so I suspect the 48 will probably keep the inside line. The 20 will start on the outside, and that way Jimmy has a Chevrolet teammate right behind him.
How much input, I mean, are you talking to your spotter, and are you trying to figure all this stuff out before we go back to green?
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, he's basically telling everyone who's going to be in the inside line, all the odd-numbered drivers, stay in line. If you don't stay in line, this line will not work. If you have guys that start to go 3 wide on the bottom, your line is completely done, and the top line's going to take over, and you're going to finish in the teens.
A lot to think about as we wind down toward 10 to go. Fox Sports proudly supports Feeding America, the nation's leading domestic hunger relief charity. Next Saturday, May 11th, help stamp out hunger by leaving a bag of non-perishable food items next to your mailbox. Your mail carrier will deliver the items to Feeding America food banks across the country. Visit feedingamerica.org/stampouthunger for more information.
Something I just saw him do to Jeff Gordon's car, and just another little thing that could be a big advantage with as dark as it's getting. They tore a pair off of his windshield. Now he's got a perfectly clear vision, and I think that could be a little bit of a help too.
And he's back on the lead lap. He'll restart 25th. There's Almirola, who will restart 24th. Jeff Burton comes in. He got caught up in that wreck at lap 42, but has soldiered on. He's in 32nd place, 5 laps down.
Yeah, back to Eric Almirola, the 43 car. They were actually doing some work to the nose of his car, something in the grill area.
Tony Stewart is racing Burton. They're both 5 laps down.
Maybe they were taping up something that
needed taping.
Would help it a little bit.
Yeah, a little more tape on that nose won't hurt it, because it's you saw how much its temperature has dropped since the start of this race.
A lot.
You can run tape. Your opening can only be so big, though, as far as maximum.
Saturday, the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series returns to Fox under the lights. Jimmy Johnson looks to defend his Darlington crown and claim his 4th career victory at the track Too Tough to Tame. Fox Sports coverage begins Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time.
And Larry, with that said, you see the 48. He's got a piece of tape extra on the grill. You fall back here to Kansas. He's got an extra piece on his grill. And I believe the 78 does too. You see that on the left corner there, the 78 does. Those have been added because of the cooler temperature.
And they added it to the left side because if you want to cool it down, you'll just kind of sneak out to the right a little bit.
Getting ready to restart. It'll be with 11 laps to go, and we listened in on Jimmy Johnson and team.
Didn't realize how dark it was out here until the pace car turned its headlights on.
I mean, now it's 6:45.
Those lights are bright.
Well, I tested tires here one time with the safety trucks in the corner shining their headlights up on the track. We're not to that point yet.
You were just one driver.
Yeah, me and Benny Parsons, actually.
Jimmy Johnson's only led 10 laps today. There's only one more that he wants to lead, and it's that last one, 11 laps from now. We're going to give 1 to go. Piece of debris being picked up, and the restart will come with 10 laps to go.
What do you think the odds are that we will finish this thing without another caution?
I'd say not very good.
I'd say slim to none, and slim is on the way out of town.
Can we make it to the end without another caution?
No way.
You've been waiting, haven't you? I know Hamlin's been down there saying all along we got another big one.
This is a disaster waiting to happen, and it's going to happen. Watch.
Sit back and watch, right?
7 of the last 8 Talladega races had the big one twice, and all 7 of those had one within the last 15 laps of the race.
Yeah, Mike, this is when you start forcing your way. When you start losing spots, you're going to force your way in front of somebody. That guy either has the option of letting you in or hitting you. If he hits you, you're wrecked.
Well, you heard Michael say that during the rain delay. He said, what I've learned in the time I've been away getting back in the race car is when somebody finds an inch, they want it, they're going to take it.
You got it. Yeah, they're not going to cut you any slack. Not now.
Hey, Denny, with what you learned about this car with this package in the Daytona 500, I don't think like last year you can wait to the last lap. It better happen way before that, don't you think?
Yeah, this is different than when we had the 2-car TAM. You're going to want to be the guy that's in the lead on the last lap. I don't know that you're going to want to be the guy who's second. If anything, if you're not leading, maybe the guy 2, 3, and 4 are probably going to have a good shot because they're going to get that big run.
5 of the last 6 Talladega races have been decided by a last lap pass. They're going to come around here and restart with 10 to go. And remember, unlike Daytona, the finish line is not in the middle of the tri-oval centered along pit road. It's a quarter mile further down track, and that changes everything.
Of the few guys that I was able to talk to this morning, they all said, I want to be leading. I don't want to come off turn 4 and have to try to make the pass. I want to be leading. We'll see how that works out.
Well, as Denny Hamlin anticipated, Jimmy Johnson chose the inside, which will put Kurt Busch in that 78, another Chevrolet behind him. Kenseth with Carl Edwards behind him.
Look at Jimmy waving to Kurt. Let's go, let's go. Jimmy doesn't want to have to race with the 20 car if he can help it. Keep him hung out. Kurt is up there pushing Jimmy into turn 1.
And Matt Kenseth, nobody quite close enough to him to help. Carl Edwards behind him, a full car length as they go to turn 1.
But that's exactly what Johnson wanted. He wanted to get the 20 hung up on the outside, maybe get away from him a little bit. May have gotten away from him a little bit too much.
Yeah, Carl Edwards did not get close at all on that restart, but now they're fighting their way back as we go.
Whoa, whoa, that was a block. Matt was not going to let that 99 snooker him this time.
Mikey's hung.
Clint Boyer coming up the inside in that blue and white car, side by side for third.
Boyer had this thing won last year here. Hadn't gotten in, well, with him and Michael, when hadn't gotten in that wreck.
Right behind him, Ryan Newman back in the mix in the front 5.
We haven't talked much about Dale Jr. lately or Danica Patrick, but they're right back here in the mix. They could get hooked up and go somewhere.
8th and 10th, 4th row back on the outside.
And Danica Patrick said she learned so much in the closing laps of the Daytona 500 when she went from 3rd to 8th on that final restart.
I think what she learned later, she's got to be more aggressive. You got to really, you got to take whatever you can get.
And she said she needed to go with the people who could get to the front. Matt Kenseth in front on the outside. Strongest car all day. Will the cars in the outside lane have an edge as they come off turn 4, coming to 8 laps to go?
I would think that Carl Edwards would want to get up there a little tighter on Matt if he could. I don't think Matt's going to be able to get by the 48 unless he gets some help.
Krista?
And exactly what Darrell just said, that's what Matt is asking for. He said, I need a push. This is the most animated I've heard him on the radio all race long.
Listen, Matt gets really excited. This year, I've never heard him get so excited at the end of these races, particularly the 2 he won. He was hollering at the spotter. He was hollering at the crew chief. And I bet he's hollering at everybody right now. And Jimmy Johnson jumps up in front of him.
Yeah, Jimmy got so far out in front of the 78 of Kurt Busch, he had to change lanes in order not to get so far in front of the pack that they would suck up and draft by him.
And here's the deal.
Look at Regan Smith in that 51 getting a push from J.J. Yaley in the 36, making it 3 wide entering the tri-oval.
Where did they come from?
I don't know, but I know where they're headed. They're headed to the lead. There goes Regan right up alongside of Matt Kenseth in the 20.
7 to go. Regan Smith, yesterday's winner,
oh, baby,
goes to second
now. I believe that 51's going to take the lead.
23 drivers, less than a second separating them with 7 to go.
Whoa, he wanted to get down and couldn't.
Make sure you block the outside.
And now way to the outside comes J.J. Yaley. The unheralded driver driving for Tommy Baldwin in the 36, the ex-sprint car racer. Got right up even with the front with Stenhouse behind him. Couldn't clear.
Clear low if you need it.
Just a little 3-wide racing
now,
here.
clear all.
The 51 car, Regan Smith, yesterday's winner, taking it to the house again today.
They moved up in front of Kenseth. Was that the right move? Here comes Johnson, and he's stuck in the middle.
Whoa, he was looking for a sweep, but I think he just got swept up.
Oh, they're going to freight train him around inside and outside. And again, Kenseth and Johnson, strongest cars all day. Back to the front, Kenseth in red, Johnson in blue. Carl Edwards right behind them.
Well, I'm with Denny on this one. They'll never make it another lap or two, Denny. I just don't see no way. This is crazy. Crazy
they ain't
stuff.
Gonna make it.
They got to make it 6 more times.
Oh, there they go. There we go. There was no way.
Oh, it's Kurt Busch up and over. Boyer's in it. Bobby Labonte's in it. Stremmy's in it. Jeff Gordon down to the grass.
Nothing else coming from behind you.
And Kurt Busch went over and over.
Boyer, McMurray.
They're just, guys, I'm with Denny. And, you know, having been in these situations several times, there's no way you can race that way and make it.
And for the 6th time in 7 Talladega races, a pile up in the last 8 laps. Look at Ryan Newman's wrecked race car. He's dropped the window net, assigned a safety cruise that he is okay.
The 78 car, Kurt Busch, it is destroyed.
Oh, and J.J. Yaley on track for his second top 10 restrictor plate finish, and Danica Patrick, both torn up.
Yeah, J.J. Yaley in that 36, he had actually cracked the top 5 there, headed onto the back stretch.
Look at the 39 car here of Ryan Newman. Somebody been on top of him.
I think that somebody was Kurt Busch. Let's watch from the Goodyear blimp and see how this unfolds. Watch Kurt Busch, the black car on the bottom.
I think it starts up on the outside here. Let's see. Right in here somewhere.
That's Regan Smith in the middle and Yaley up top.
Right here, the 51 car. Owen Stenhouse squeezes to the outside.
And that's Yaley in the 36.
And that shoved Yaley down. And look at that 78 car upside down and then lands on top of Ryan Newman's 39 car.
Bobby Labonte involved.
So it was Stenhouse, the rookie, trying to go 4 wide on the outside, running out of room with his number 17.
Yeah, and running out of time. I mean, he's, you know, desperate. And you see the 36 move down just a little bit. And Yaley and Stenhouse thought he could squeeze by on the next to the wall, and he just couldn't make it. And this kid's ugly. Watch his thing.
Right on top of Ryan Newman.
Hadn't Ryan Newman had cars on top of him before here?
I think the 2009 race.
I think you're right.
Brad Keselowski and Carl Edwards coming to the checkered flag.
Boyer's 15 comes up, clogs the track. Both Labonte brothers involved. Stremme,
Jamie
number
McMurray.
of those smaller teams on the way to a good finish here.
Jeff Gordon sliding down through the mud.
Now watch the 36. The red and white car comes up just a little bit. And that contact with Stenhouse was enough. Then he comes down into Ambrose, and it's on.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 88 just squeezed by.
There's Danica. She almost went over.
You see Danica up and against the wall with Terry Labonte.
Michael Waltrip in the 55 just barely squeezed by.
Let's ride with Danica. J.J. Yaley with Matt Yoakum.
He's pulled the car back in the garage area, and J.J., you've seen several different versions of what took place. Tell me from your vantage point.
I was trying to win a race, and I went to the outside and had a great run. Almost got to the lead there the previous lap, and as we were going back straightaway, you know, Regan trying to side drafted me, and we were just kind of going along fine. And the next thing you know, I got hit in the right rear corner, got me sideways, and spun me back across the pack. And looks like the Stenhouse just went the outside, and just not enough room out there, and just enough to clip me, get me loose, and then it was on from there, a little carnage. But you know, we were trying to feed the kids, trying to win a race, and had a really good run going for Golden Corral, and unfortunately, we got a torp race car now.
All right, thank you, JJ.
Thank you.
Tough break for that 36 small 2-car team of Tommy Baldwin. And a tougher break for Kurt Busch. All drivers have climbed from their cars and are okay.
That is 3,300 pounds of race car flipping through the air like a feather.
But Darrell, it definitely looked like Stenhouse thought that Yaley had made just enough move to the inside that it was going to open up a big enough hole for him to get that 17 car.
Remember what we said in the opening? When you make a move, finish it. And that's kind of where I saw that 36. He started to make a move, but then he hesitated. Stenhouse didn't, and we get this big mess.
You're with Dale Earnhardt Jr. Whoa.
What a view. Looking back. Danica's car, the 10 back there, almost went over.
And now you're with Clint Boyer. This is Michael Waltrip.
Stay high, come on. Easy, get down, get down. Good, man.
Mikey may have scraped the wall with the right side.
Yeah, because he's actually already been to pit road in that 55 car.
Look at the tumble that Kurt Busch took right on top of hapless Ryan Newman.
Boy, Michael was really barely got through there.
Darrell talked about 3,300 pounds. A couple of changes NASCAR made to the roll cage at the top of the windshield was for hits just like that.
Yeah, they doubled up the bars around the front of the windshield up there where this windshield lays back a little bit more. It puts a little more angle on that bar that runs along the edge of the wave post. They doubled it up.
In fact, they added another bar, and it's called the Newman bar.
The Newman bar. This is amazing stuff right here. Look at this.
And hats off to all of our NASCAR on Fox camera crew. They've been out in the weather for most of the 8 hours that we've been on the air to bring you these great pictures of a devastating pileup inside of 10 laps to go.
Hey, Denny.
Yes, sir.
What happened?
Well, I think we both know what happened.
That wasn't too hard to call, was it, brother?
No, I was listening to you, and you were like, it's coming any lap now. And I'm thinking in my head, yeah, like this one. Yeah, you can't go that long and not have a wreck, especially when you get 3 and 4 wide. You got no choice. I mean, the air gets moved around, your car gets moved around. It's not necessarily these guys turning the wheels into each other as much as it is the air pushing them into each other. So it's inevitable. It's going to happen. And I think that's probably it for the big wrecks, especially we're going to have probably a green-white-checkered here. So I think that, you know, it's going to be a battle of attrition and who picks the right line here. Looks like Kenseth leading. He'll probably choose the inside line here and more than likely will be in good shape.
You saw Danica Patrick being pushed back to the garage. Not happy. She was on her way to a top dozen finish and got swept up in that wreck. It was Michael Waltrip's birthday this week. He blew out the 50 candles on the cake, and I think he just got a great birthday present right here. Let's ride along.
Yeah, this is he's right up next to the wall. He's going to get in the wall a little bit right here, but just look how close he came to getting T-bone right in the driver's door. That's what was right behind him. Let's see if we can get the old boy. Hey, Mike, is DW got a copy?
Hello, DW. How's it going?
Just thought I'd give you a wake-up call. It seems like it's kind of boring out there.
Holy cow, man. That was wild. I saw him in the air, and I got under him. You know when they say, your spotter says you got one under you? I don't think that's what they mean.
Yeah, Michael, how's the visibility right now? It's getting pretty dark.
It's perfect. You can see so well. If the rain doesn't come, we need to make one shot at this green-white checker. The 20 car just rooted me out. He's so fast, so that kind of messed me up. But what I love, Darrell, is the way these guys are moving around and making passes. And I'm going to start 13th with 4 tires. I think that'll help me, and my car will go toward the front a little bit. But man, I wouldn't take my eyes off those first 2 or 3 rows. It's going to be crazy.
Have you got any damage? You got up against the wall a little bit, but it didn't look like it looked pretty slight.
No problems. The wheel's in the same spot. We pitted because of that. Rodney's such a great crew chief. He said 4 tires on the Aaron's Dream Machine, and you know I saw in track position, and that shows you how much I know. So just glad he's on my team, and I'm really looking forward to seeing if we can't make something happen in these what will amount to 2-lap sprint to the finish. This race has had it all, and it's lasted all day, and I'm just so thankful I get to be right up in the middle of it.
Hey, Mikey, can you hear me?
Yeah, hang on, man, Mikey. Your partner in there in the hotel, your replacement wants to send you a message. Hang on.
Tell him if he can't get a top 10, he can't get a ride home.
He said if you can't get a top 10, you get no ride home.
Man, that's a lot of pressure. I'm 13th. I like my chances. I like my chances. So relay down there to the hotel. He doesn't need to get too comfortable in there. That's my seat. He's got other stuff he needs to worry about.
Heck, he's been there so long, he's grown a beard.
All right, Michael's last win right here in 2003. Let's go to the Care Center, Matt Yoakum.
And Ryan Newman has walked out okay. You experienced it firsthand, having that 78 coming towards you in the air. Describe this wild ride, Ryan.
First of all, to my family and friends, I'm doing this interview to let everybody know that I'm all right. They can build safer race cars, they can build safer walls, but they can't get their heads out of their asses far enough to keep them on the racetrack. And that's pretty disappointing. I wanted to make sure I get that point across. And y'all can figure out who they is, but that's no way to end a race. Our car was much better than that. It was just poor judgment and restarting the race, poor judgment. I mean, you got what you wanted, but poor judgment and running in the dark, running in the rain. It's just, that's it. Thank you.
We're glad you're okay.
And you got to realize something with Ryan Newman. He has had some horrendous wrecks here. That's not the first time he's had another car on top of his. And I remember, Larry, every restrictor plate race that we went to seemed like Ryan had one of these unbelievable crashes like we just saw here.
Oh, yeah, until he finished 5th in this year's Daytona 500. It had been a bad run for him as far as Daytona and Talladega.
And Newman had nothing to do with that accident getting started. He was about 4 rows behind it, trying to find a safe path through, but unable to. Now, a few years ago, let's show you what happened here to Ryan Newman. He'll be behind these two. That is Carl Edwards and Brad Keselowski. And Carl comes down right on the nose of Newman's car that goes hard into the wall.
He ended up finishing 3rd. He said the throttle was hung. He had no choice but just to ride against the wall and go ahead and take the checkered flag.
After the crash, we listened in on rookie Ricky Stenhouse, who took them 4 wide down into danger.
Yeah, I got to his door. He put us in the fence. I just barely scraped the wall.
Yeah, I saw it on the big screen that you were just outside and he kind of came up on you there.
So Stenhouse calling out J.J. Yaley for moving up on him.
Yeah, well, if the track was 5 wide, that'd have been all right. But, you know, we're already 3 wide, and it was about 3.5. There was a half a lane there, and it just closed up on him.
Well, if you're leading, it's either too rainy or too dark to continue, and that's what the 20 team is lobbying the NASCAR official for.
Danica's so frustrated because she was having a solid run.
Yep.
Going to get a nice, probably top 10, 12th place finish. Unfortunate for her. Jimmy Finning's not happy because he knows anything could happen on this restart. They're going to be stuck on the outside. This is going to be interesting.
So if you're leading, it's too dark to continue. And if you're in 2nd, come on, let's drop the flag and go, right?
Well, you heard my brother. He's 13th. He said, oh, you can see perfectly.
Right. From 13th.
It just depends on who you want to ask.
You know, guys, when I look at our top 10 right now, we've talked about drivers that's not won in Sprint Cup. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the 17 in 5th, Eric Almirola in the 43 in 6th. And how about Scott Speed in that 95 car back there in 9th, just inside the top 10? There's Scott right there.
Great run for him today. Former F1 racer.
David Reagan, the 34 car, another guy hanging in there.
It's animation domination tonight following the race on Fox. We'll keep it right here.
As a matter of fact, Larry, you look at that. We got the 34 of David Reagan as 8th. You've got Scott Speed 9th. You've got Gilliland running 11th right now. And Josh Wise in the 35 running 14th.
Kurt Busch also released from the care center after going upside down. And NASCAR is going to restart the race. And because of the advancing darkness, as they did last evening, instead of the up to 3 tries at Green-white-checker, they're going to allow 1 try, and then the next flag will end the race for darkness, be it the checker or the yellow flag.
And folks at home, I know you said, well, it's not that dark. Trust me, these cameras really brighten everything up. You almost need headlights to race right now. Yeah, almost.
Look at that Sunoco sign and the lights on the pace car. They're the brightest things here at Talladega right now, as the field forms up for 1 shot at a green-white-checker finish.
And you've been out there racing all afternoon. Your windshield's dirty. You're tired. You can make some bad decisions right here with just a couple of laps.
And a few sprinkles on the glass. Let's add that in.
That's just a little aggravation.
So under NASCAR rule, the lights are out on the pace car, which means the green flag will wave this time. Now, regardless of what happens next, the next flag ends the race. If they make it all the way around for the 2 laps, it'll be scored at the checker. If the caution flag has to wave, as last night, the race will be decided by video evidence as of the moment of the caution flag, which is when the race director pushes the button to illuminate the caution lights.
Well, the guy
that doesn't happen.
The guy that won this race here last year is leading right now. He won the Daytona 500 last year. The guy that won Daytona this year is running 2nd. The guy that really needs some help, if Stenhouse somehow could get over behind Carl Edwards, they could do what they did coming to the red flag earlier. but they're going to have to get hooked up in a hurry.
And I just don't see Regan Smith in that 51 car getting very far off of Carl Edwards' bumper in that 99. But how interesting, Matt Kenseth, Jimmy Johnson, how many laps in the early part of this race did they sit there and run 1-2 like they're going to restart?
And I think that's the key, Larry. Those two cars together have been all but impossible to pass when they're linked up.
Here's the thing that Matt Kenseth has to be careful of. He's got to be smart now. We've seen him on restarts get a big jump and a big lead on everybody and come off turn 2 way out front of everybody. I don't think you want to do that.
All right, pace car's about to turn left to pit road. Denny, who do you like?
I like the 20. I think he's got the best pusher behind him. I think he's going to win it.
Will Jimmy Johnson be content to push Matt Kenseth to the front without taking a chance at pulling alongside?
We're asking a lot to run over 5 miles without another caution, though.
I think Jimmy Johnson right now, he's got 2 wins. He's got a huge point lead. I think he'll do whatever he has to do to win this race.
Regan Smith drops to the inside. Big gap there. He's in third on the low side behind Kenseth and Johnson.
And I heard them go into the first turn. I'm not really sure I saw him go into the first turn, but I heard them.
Josh Wise, a lot of sparks from his car up top. He falls off pace.
Now, Carl Edwards in the 99 fell back a little bit, but getting a heck of a push from Eric Almirola in that 43. Now Edwards dives to the inside.
And Kenseth is able to drop in behind Edwards. Now we'll see what happens.
That all came from that push that Almirola gave him down the backstretch.
Another Ford, which those Fords have been really good at helping each other today.
On the outside, Almirola, Regan, and his teammate Gilliland. On the inside, Edwards, Kenseth, and Johnson. Here they come to the white flag. 1 lap to go.
And it's a race from here on, no matter what happens.
Johnson looked high. Kenseth to draft with Edwards. Johnson to the bottom. Almirola to the top.
Man, Matt got shuffled out again.
Jimmy Johnson with Carl Edwards, but Kenseth up the middle, coming back. Help from David Regan. Up to the bumper of Carl Edwards. Regan in the middle. His teammate Gilliland is the pusher. They're right on the bumper of Edwards. Is there anywhere to go? Regan to the bottom. Gilliland with him. David Regan, July winner at Daytona a couple of years ago. Gilliland with him. Edwards up top. Michael Waltrip to help. And here they come off turn 4.
Push, boys, push. Push hard.
Edwards high. Regan comes up. Carl on the spot.
Regan's got it. He's got it.
Front row racing is in the victory lane at Talladega. Regan first. Gilliland second. How about that?
Oh, yeah, baby. Yeah.
What an unbelievable run there.
Not a first-time winner, but a first-time Talladega winner. Look at those teammates.
No, but this team.
You just think about David Regan, David Gilliland, and their other teammate, Josh Rice, wrecked together early in the Daytona 500.
What a celebration. What a great win for this.
Bob Jenkins, the car owner, is...
They need to watch this race today. Goodness gracious. I can't believe
he owns quite a group of chain restaurants, and they fund this racing operation. And David Regan with David Gilliland got together, and teammates fought their way to the front.
Larry, what did we say when this race started?
Anybody can win this race. But look at what he did here in the tri-oval, from the bottom to the top, back to the bottom.
We said a couple of years ago when he was driving that 6 car, this kid is a great restrictor plate racer. He almost won the Daytona 500 that Trevor Bayne won. He made a mistake on a restart, but that's a great run.
Second generation racer from Georgia. His dad, Ken Regan, a longtime independent driver on the Sprint Cup circuit.
And one of the nicest young men you'll ever meet in your life.
Just in time to be a participant in the Sprint All-Star race in 2 weeks.
How about that?
Says Farm Rich on there. He ain't kidding.
David Regan, the Talladega winner.
One of the longest ever Talladega nights. Thanks for staying with us. NASCAR on Fox and Front Row Racing finishing in the front row. What are the odds? David Regan in Las Vegas was 100-1 to win this race, and he pulled it off amazingly so. Steve Burns is there for the celebration.
Lots of motion. David Reagan, what did it mean to pull that car into victory lane, and how did you do it?
I'm kind of a low-key guy. Man, I don't know. First off, I got to thank the Lord. Without him, nothing's possible. I got to thank my teammates, David Gillen, Josh Wise. I mean, if it wasn't for that final push from David Gillen, that loves trucks, travel stops Ford. Man, I don't know what to say. This is a true David versus Goliath moment here. Front Row Motorsports Ford. We got Farm Rich on our Ford this weekend, their first chance at a NASCAR race. They're not all this easy, but man, this is special to get Front Row Motorsports their first win. Feels like I've never been here before.
David, congratulations. Big underdog win. Let's go to Chris Devoda.
Well, Steve, David just said it was a David versus Goliath story. It took two Davids to get this win for Front Row. First one David Reagan thanked was the Lord, and then you for that push. Talk about that final lap.
Yeah, without God, none of us would be here and getting able to do what we do. So first we got to start by thanking God. And, it's been my dream since I came to Front Row to get Bob Jenkins to victory lane. And this is about as much as I could help today. So I'm very proud of, our whole team, Front Row Motorsports. We got Love's Travel Stops on board, and what a great day for them. So what a great day for Front Row Motorsports. I mean, like you said, an underfunded team coming in here and being able to finish 1-2 is awesome. So very proud of David Reagan. I know he'd have done the same for me, and got us up there. We had a heck of a run. We were pushing, and I was locked to his bumper. I wasn't going to let go. So I was hoping he didn't get loose going into 3 and 4. But like I said, just real proud of all the guys. Frank Kerr has been a huge, tremendous asset to our team this year. And, we haven't had the results to show for it. We've been running better every week, but just not there. So just so proud of Bob Jenkins and, everything he puts into this team and doing this. Out of his own pocket, probably 80-90%. And to get him a 1-2 finish here at Talladega, it's a dream come true.
And as I throw it to Matt Yoakum, go ahead and hold up your secret weapon, the good luck note that was on his dash from his daughter. Matt?
Oh, very nice. A dominant car, though, for Matt Kenseth in the daylight and in the darkness. But what went wrong near the end, Matty?
I don't know. It was a good run. I mean, it was a really disappointing finish. First of all, congratulations to David, and David there. That's always cool to see the underdogs go up there and grab one. So I'm happy for them guys. But man, I don't know. Carl just got a rocket restart there, and he cleared me down the backstretch. He just got a huge run somehow. And I was still second. I thought we still had a shot. I tried to get a run on Carl, and he blocked which he should. And we got real wide getting up there in one because he got me pretty far to the top. And I just didn't watch the runs from them guys way in the back. Just got a huge run up the middle. I saw David at the last minute, but he was going too fast. If I pulled in front of him, I was just going to get wrecked. So I just had to bite the bullet and try to find a hole, which there wasn't one, and finish the best we can. So it was a disappointing ending to the day, but man, we had a great car again.
7th for Kansas. Chris?
Aaron's 499, where dreams come true and a win for the little guy. The 9th green-white checker here at Talladega in overtime and checking points. Denny Hamlin after 10 of 36 races.
What an awesome race. I mean, what else could you ask for? Had a couple big wrecks that took out some big contenders, but in the end, 2 small Davis beats the Goliaths. That's an awesome story that's going to be coming up this week.
Jimmy Johnson stays your points leader. You see the next wave. Joey Logano, you'll be racing against him in Darlington next Saturday night.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to get back in the race car full time. I loved my time here in the Hollywood Hotel, but can't wait to get behind the wheel.
Yeah, thank you for your analysis and spending time a long day with us. Don't forget FA Cup Final Soccer Saturday on Fox. And Saturday night, 6 o'clock Eastern on the eve of Mother's Day. Denny Hamlin's run well there. He has a victory. He's 6 top 10s in 7 races. Jimmy Johnson won the race last time. We'll see how David Reagan can handle it today. He led only 4 laps. This race ended up being 511 miles. He was 10th when we restarted, 5th on the final lap, and came in to win it. Special thanks to Denny Hamlin. I'm Chris Myers for our entire crew. Thanks for watching from Talladega, battling darkness, drizzle, and drama.